It's time for Cofield and Company. Live at the Golden Circle Sportsbook and Bar inside Treasure Island, it's Cofield and Company.
Yeah, all right, here we go. Friday. TI Vegas is the site, Golden Circle Sports Bar. Mateo's running the show here. Alex White is in as the company. It's Cofield. 3 hours on the way. Good guest spots. We'll really start getting ramped up for UNLV's opener now in 8 days. Hard to believe it's that short a time, but 8 days away, week 0. August 29th at Allegiant. And again, Memphis is in town. We'll hit some other week 0 games and get Alex's take on what's going on for college football. So a lot of college football. Sammy P is going to join us as well. Sam Paniotovich, one of our sports gambling experts that joins us on Fridays. So what's going on?
Not much. I'm excited. It's fun to be here at TI. I feel like that means it's officially football season. And, all the preseason games, getting ready for week 0. We also had Dan Mullen come out and throw first pitch last Saturday at Las Vegas Ballpark. So, yeah, it kind of just is all happening right now, and it's the best time of the year, right?
And his first pitch? How was it?
I'm trying to remember exactly, but
I thought he might have hopped it.
It was a little bounce, yeah. So you want you need?
I have nothing to say because I still have not thrown out a first pitch, and I have a feeling when I do it eventually, it's going to be a disaster. So I should probably start or stop piling on everyone else who throws out a poor pitch.
I've never done it either, and I really don't want to. So
he is trying to stay in shape. I don't know if you saw the video John Von Tobel was asking during the week because B. Martinez, the new reporter at Fox 5 who covers UNLV, got a good video of him just kind of running around the field after practice, which is, again, it's funny. I say this all the time. I do so much social media, but yet I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what hits. I have no idea what goes viral. She sent out a video of him running, and it was like, 10,000 views. And I was like, I have a video of him running from 2 weeks ago. Let me send that out now.
Yeah.
And it's like 300 views. Like I have no clue what hits. I think you're hitting, so you got to tell everyone, because you haven't been around for a couple of weeks, you are doing a ton of stuff on social media. What's going on there, Foxy? What is this whole thing?
Yeah, a new website coming out. Right now it is in the beta testing phase, so people can still go there and sign up and check it out. So right now it's NFL and Major League Baseball, and you'll put your email in, you'll get your code, and you'll be in. And we'd love some feedback too, but we will have college football coming next week, FBS and FCS. So it is a ton of information. It's kind of like KenPom, plus a little bit of some of those other sites that have all the against the spread and, over-unders, all that, how the betting works. But kind of like KenPom in the sense that it's going to have projections for every game for the entire season. So you can go to standings, and you'll see MLB standings where they are right now. You can hit a button that says projected final standings. So if you're a fan of a team, you're following a team, it's fun to go on there, kind of see day in and day out where they move or after certain series with baseball, and it'll be fun week by week with football, definitely. I mean, NFL, those will be moving constantly. So, yeah, it's been good so far. We're excited. We got a good team kind of doing the push, and it's a ton of information. We're really trying to figure out what looks best and what is the most digestible for people that aren't just stat heads, right, and just don't want to spend a whole bunch of time on the internet and just seeing all the things, but kind of simple to use and easy for betting. But not just betting. It's going to be really good information in general with player power ratings on there on the depth chart. So if you want to use it for fantasy too, kind of compare and see where I guess I'll say my family's player power ratings and before the season starts and where those begin, then that's all there on Foxy Odds.
Foxy Odds.
FoxyOdds.com.
And what platforms, aside from the .com, what else is it on?
Well, social media, Instagram right now, Twitter or X, and TikTok. So those 3 right now.
Whose idea?
So it's actually a byproduct of other things that are in the making that I feel like I was very fortunate to hop in at the right time where they were kind of like, all right, you're going to spearhead this and let's go with it. And it's something that we have in the family have talked about doing for a long time, just wanting all information in one spot. Eventually there's going to be a spot where you're looking at player stats, and rather than just averages, Steve, you'll be able to hit a button and say, give me the median for the season, right? And then so that's useful in certain ways if you are better. But yeah, a lot of ideas, a lot of kind of, I don't know, this dream website coming together here.
And who came up with the name Foxy?
That I don't really know.
How much do they have to convince you? Because you're not I don't know how to say it delicately. You're not the kind of person who's going to be out there kind of flaunting your femaleness.
No, that's very true.
So did you have to think about it a little bit?
Well, it's not, it's just the brand, I guess. But I think with me doing the videos and kind of taking the stance of the influencer push for it, people have assumed. But, yeah, I really didn't have a say in the name.
I think it's going to be cool. I've seen some of the videos. They look good. And like you said, if it fills a void or it's putting up something that really hasn't been around, it's foxyodds.com, foxyodds.com. So Alex White, that's our big project now. So very cool to see, and we'll try to feature more of that stuff in terms of video. Maybe there's a little cross promotion we can do. I think I did one good video for Sopo Studios one time on my Dopey Raiders draft list.
I will have to double check, but I think that video has the most views out of any of our Sopo videos.
I think Never beat me. I think Matt Never. I think he might have outpaced me. But I'm humble that way. Speaking of drafts, okay, Fernando Mendoza, mixed bag last night. We'll get to what happened on the field. I'll tell you this. His personality, because it's so funny how separate the audiences are in college football and the NFL. Like, he had a lot of exposure in college football. We saw him. We certainly got exposure to him in the playoffs and then before the final and after the final and even around the draft. But people are, like, completely fascinated by his speaking style, his approach. Last night, wasn't there a weird moment with Fernando trying to be, like, Mr. Polite?
Yeah, there was. He said to tell Mr. Buck, he said hello, and if I'm not mistaken, Joe Buck is an Indiana alum too, right? So I think there was a little bit of correlation. I'll have to double check that.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. That makes it even more special.
Yes.
That Mr. Buck went to IU.
Yes, Indiana. Okay. Yeah.
So there's a tie there.
Okay, so going back to the difference between college and NFL, you're so right. I think you have to prove you're a winner too, because there was a lot of hate and kind of making fun of him in the Big Ten Championship and other instances in college, right? And now gets drafted number 1 overall in the NFL, and now people have fully embraced it. Or maybe it was just the unknown, and people didn't know if it was an act or what, and now it's kind of like people are buying in. And
well, I think it's I think one, it shows that the audiences are very different. 2, it also shows that the NFL, as big as college football is, which I think now with the playoff, it's the second biggest sport in the country, that college football is big, but it's still like 50 times less than the NFL. And here's the other thing, and this one might be kind of I don't think it's embarrassing. It is what it is. When media people are exposed to Fernando Mendoza, who are NFL media people, I don't think people realize that while we as Sports Talk hosts, we cover everything, when someone works a beat, and their main beat is the NFL, they don't watch college football. It's also why I've always thought draft coverage is often ridiculous around the NFL draft, because NFL people have no idea what they're talking about. They get information from other NFL sources, but they don't watch college football, so they shouldn't base anything on what they say on college football because they didn't watch. You don't have time, frankly.
Yeah.
You can. There's only so many. You know from sports gambling. There's only so many things you can be an expert at.
No, 100% correct. So where do you think that ties in with the people who actually cover NFL and why his personality has worked out so well in this?
Well, because I think he's incredibly quirky. And I will say, like, I try to be careful there. He got exposure at the end of the season in the playoffs. Indiana football still doesn't get coverage week to week like some of the mega programs, so I don't think a lot, and certainly they didn't know who he was at Cal. College kids, for the most part, outside of the top 8 or 10 programs, and Indiana's not a top 8 or 10 program, in spite of their result, they're just not in terms of coverage and exposure yet. If they do this for like the next 10 years, then they'll get it. But yeah, a lot of people don't know who Fernando Mendoza is. So like every week, and every Raiders media availability and every quirky thing he says, it's like this brand new exposure. And then, frankly, football has gotten so big. It's also weird. I'm doing a lot of theorizing here. It's also weird how we get to mid-August every year, and it's like football disappeared for like 5 years. Like, people go so crazy. In August, we've talked to multiple sportsbook directors or odds makers. We have Ray Cleaver on from William Hill on Tuesdays, and we're going to talk to Chuck Esposito from SDN later on, and they're always like, my God, these games are, outpacing NBA playoff games. And I'm like, a practice game in October? People are just so football hungry. It is amazing how, think about it. Not when you were growing up, but when I was growing up, there was no bigger sport, the biggest sport in the country in, let's say the mid-'80s, right? I'm in my early teens. It's baseball.
Yeah.
And now baseball is like a pittance. It's not even the right word, but it is nothing compared to football. So Mendoza has a chance. Man, if he's good, first of all, it'll make Raider Nation happy. If he's good with his quirky personality and his speaking style, and he's going to get smoother, he's going to be a freaking darling for endorsements.
Oh, 100%.
Holy crap.
He will be in every commercial, definitely.
Alex White's here. Okay, that was a nice part. Now let's get to his play on the field last night. Fire away. Before I even get to anything, give me your impression, because we saw a pick six.
Yeah.
What else?
Honestly, I didn't take too much. I liked the way he responded after. And it's tough for me because I just know how good the Texans' defense is, right? And I don't know. What was your impression?
Well, it's the preseason. So if 2 weeks ago we're going to come on the show, and I think I even said it on the Monday because we were on Friday, but we reacted more on Monday. And I think it was Parles and I'm like, I'm sorry, folks. I know I'm supposed to come in here and have like some like real hot take, hot shot take and be screaming and yelling about Mendoza and make guarantees and start making bets, and I will not do it based on a preseason game. So if last week when he played kind of well, I didn't go sky high, yesterday when he had some really low moments, I'm not going to freak out and say he sucks. Told you so. No, my take has been consistent. That the staff told you. Nation. This staff told you if you choose to digest Raiders information, and locally in Raider Nation, they told you here's the plan. Now, without being obnoxious, they haven't said, like, he's not ready. That's what they're saying. That's why they signed a guy for $20 million in Kirk Cousins. It's why they haven't told AOC, frankly, to hit the bricks or trade him for nothing, right? Because they need him too. Mendoza's a project. He's not a ready-made quarterback. He's got some things he's got to clean up. And last night was an example of things he's got to clean up. His pick six was ridiculous. If he does that consistently, he will not last as a starting quarterback in the National Football League. But that's why they have these practice games, so you can work things out like that. But he freaking zoned in on the receiver, never took his eyes off. He said he went through a progression. I didn't see him move his head much. And you can see the linebacker was spying him, and he just moves across the screen because the shot I got was the one behind, and you just see him like watching him, and it's right in his arms.
Yeah.
And the only thing he could have screwed up is actually catching it because it was a perfect pass right to him. But I'm not going to freak out. Just like, Caden McDonald, if that guy turns out to be good, that's going to be a problem because Raider Nation wanted Caden McDonald, the big defensive tackle, and he's on the perfect team, the Texans, man, with those great edges. But he had no chance to avoid that sack. We've said it a million times. We're going to keep saying it over and over again. This line might not be very good for weeks and weeks and weeks. They're going to try to figure it out with some veteran players, and then some of the young guys are going to get mixed in. But until then, there's no reason to put Mendoza out there the first 6 weeks of the season. None. Not with this line.
What do you think about the last preseason game?
Oh, should he play?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want him to get hurt. And here's another thing I said. I think going into the season that Mendoza's the number 3, and he shouldn't even be in uniform. He should be watching games for the first 5 or 6 weeks. if they're actually trying to win games, and that is the goal for the first half of the season, that's why you signed Kirk Cousins. Otherwise, you could have just brought some jabroni in and paid him $4 million and just, and basically intentionally lost, let that guy get his, what's lit, destroyed, and come out of the gates 1-7, and then Fernando goes in. No, they have Kirk around because they want to win games, and if Kirk gets hurt, then AOC is a better quarterback right now than Mendoza. Does that hurt anyone's feelings? Sorry. He is. Right now, he's better equipped to play quarterback in the NFL. Now, I hope that's not the case by week 10. I hope that's certainly the case by the beginning of next year, or not the case by the beginning of next year.
So, if it flips and he starts week 1, how disappointed are you going to be?
Alex, come on, don't do that on this show. If what flips and who starts?
If all of a sudden Fernando Mendoza does start.
That would be shocking.
That's what the national media is trying to kind of lead people on.
Last night showed him,
right?
shouldn't it? Last night showed him. He had a 42-6 rating. He went 8 of 15. He threw a pick 6. Okay? He needs time. They told us he needs time.
Yeah.
I'm good with the time. I can't even imagine the scenario where they're like, we changed our mind. He had a great week of practice. Kirk, you're not the starter. What? No, he's not starting. And I know you had the story where Kubiak kind of left the door open. This is what coaches do.
Yes.
Believe me, Kirk Cousins knows behind the scenes. Kirk Cousins knew the moment, the second, millisecond he signed, he was starting game 1. There was nothing Mendoza could do to change that. Mendoza could go out and go 15 of 15 with 15 touchdowns. Okay, maybe that would change it. But even that against 2s and 3s, who cares?
Yeah.
So he's not starting.
No,
I'll go as far as saying this is a really dangerous one.
Uh-oh.
This is like C. Williams territory. Was it a Red Sox bet he made? One year he said he was going to quit, right? He worked another 10 years. If the Red Sox won the World Series, I'm not quitting over the statement, but I will say if Clint Kubiak reverse course and Fernando Mendoza was starting in week 1, I may actually come on the air and go, he can't be the head coach. Like, this is a terrible hire. Because, hey, beginning of the week, I saw a great conversation with Matt Hasselbeck and Cowherd show, and Matt Hasselbeck kept using the word conviction. You have to have the conviction to stay with the plan. Kubiak needs to have the conviction to stay with the plan, and the plan is Kirk Cousins. And I don't think conviction's not even the right word, because they made the decision. They're not changing course. They see him every day in practice. They saw him in off-season workouts. He's a project, and he'll be ready when they think he's ready later in the season. But I don't think they have any. There's no illusion, no matter what they say to us in the media, that like, you never know. No, we know.
Maybe, it makes sense. He's the number 1 overall pick, but just on all the national broadcasts, they're really trying to make it a story that there is still a chance, and that a lot of people are trying to say that is the right decision. See what you got. Get him out there.
It's not the right decision.
No, I don't think so.
I don't see everyone who says that, but I've seen enough of them, and we play the audio on the air, and I've shredded them, and it's like, you don't cover the Raiders, you don't follow locally. Most importantly, you haven't listened to Kubiak, you haven't listened to the OC, you haven't listened to the quarterback coach. They've all doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on the fact. Again, they're not saying like, he sucks. They've said, here's the plan, which means he's not ready. This is what we're doing. We're not changing course. And yes, even my proclamation about going 15 of 15 with 15 touchdowns would not change things. Now, it would put a lot of pressure, the spoken pressure, but the national media. I'll go back to the beginning of the conversation, Alex. We were talking about NFL people not knowing Mendoza the person and not understanding, the way he speaks and his personality. National NFL people can't cover 32 teams like we do locally in each market. I can't even talk about my own team, the Jets, the way guys who cover the Jets talk about them. National guys cannot do it. You're trying to cover way too many teams. You can't do it. You can call out here and ask, get some good information.
Right.
But then what happens is you cover the surface stuff, and then there's really what's the hot topic for the Raiders aside from Mendoza? We want to argue on a national level, like, is Genty going to have 1,700 yards from scrimmage? What else? Like, did they waste all their money on the defensive signing? Like, none of that's sexy. So they're going to ride the freaking Mendoza pony over and over and over again. Like, oh, I think he should start. And boy, you got me going. The nothing to lose thing is so dumb. There's a lot to lose. Like, you could throw him out there the first 6 or 7 games when they're playing a murderous schedule, and he gets destroyed and never doesn't recover for 3 years, and then turns into, I say things with intent. I know it sounds like sometimes I'm a wild man. I say things with intent. My comp that no one else in the country mentioned, my comp for Fernando Mendoza from a body type standpoint going into the draft was none of these Aaron Rodgers and Matt Ryan. No, it was Vinny Testaverde, because he's built just like him. Maybe I was loosely tying the Miami connections, but Testy was a 6'5" dude who was 230, really a good athlete, but was not mobile. But the biggest thing beyond that, the body type, the biggest thing about Testaverde that is apt in this case is Vinny Testaverde wasn't good until he was like 34 years old. You know why? Because he was a number 1 pick, and the first couple of years he went out there with the Buccaneers, and it was like 11 touchdowns and 31 interceptions. Like, he got effing destroyed. And then the league gave up on him. Like, what you don't want here, even though he's turned into a success, and I'm going to stop, is Sam Darnold. Like, the Raiders need Mendoza to be good later this year and the beginning of next year. Not, hey, look at how good Fernando is with his third organization, right, in year 7.
Yes.
Like, what? Well, it's because you played him too early and you crushed him. David Carr's another guy who can speak to that. Derek Carr's brother. David was never as good as Derek turned out to be, because David got sacked 100 times his first couple of years because the Texans were like, well, we don't have anyone else, so let's just throw the lamb to slaughter. Okay, timeout. That was good. Don't play Fernando Mendoza. I'm not hating on him. Don't play him, please.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Well, that was funny. It turned into another 10-minute diatribe about Fernando Mendoza. And listen to the way I say this. Fernando Mendoza should not play in week 1, and I mean it in the most positive way. But Alex is the one who got it started and got me worked up again.
I agree,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I think there's way more to gain by giving him some time to adjust to the pace of professional football, right?
It's just listen. If it's a fan and you're in Raider Nation, I get it. Fans are fans, and it's not all the fans. But for talking heads to keep saying the same thing, like, come up with a new material for the Raiders, or just don't talk about him, because it's a dumb theory that he should be out there early. He's going to have growing pains. He needs to watch and study behind the scenes. And yes, I'm all about. I don't know how many people said this. I'm all about AOC being the number 2 to start the season, because in a game, if Kirk goes down, then you need someone to be able to come in and win you a football game. And I think that's one of the positives of last night. Hell, it was against the threes. But Aiden O'Connell has proven he's a solid 2, and he's certainly one of the best, 2 or 3 number 3 quarterbacks in the league. So I wouldn't want him out there for an entire season. But in a pinch, if he needs to cover 4 or 5 weeks this year before you feel like Mendoza's ready, if Kirk went down, then I'm fine with Aiden O'Connell playing.
Yeah, and I mean, he was a big part of the comeback, right? And for the Raiders to actually get that win.
I mean, I could not believe after the start they put out there 20-3 at the half. Then in the end, the yardage was like 420 to 215 because they annihilated them in the second half.
Yeah,
they're just better at those threes. Now, what does that mean? I mean, I guess there's some positives there, because some of the guys who were playing for the Raiders are going to compete for playing time at some point this season. It's a lot of the young defenders. For me, the biggest story with the Raiders, and to go back to what people cover from outside the market on the Raiders, the biggest story and the thing you should be most intense about, aside from Mendoza playing in the second half and showing well, is this line has got to establish at least 2 more good starters Like, they've got Colton Miller, who probably should kick over to right tackle at some point, but I don't know what the long-term plans are for Colton Miller. Linderbaum signed for, $28 million a year, so you got him. But the two guard positions and the right tackle position, they've got to sort it out, and they've got to one, get good play so that Mendoza, when he does get out there, isn't going to get killed. And two, they've got to go into next year's draft knowing, well, that'll be it. Get ready for Cofield rant on that one, because when if they go 6-11 and everyone freaking is rodding up over some wide receiver and they can't get Jeremiah Smith, and I'll be like, tackle. I'll say it a billion times, which I've said for years, and unfortunately, this is why they're in the position they're in, where they don't have a great offensive line with young prospects because they haven't drafted to the position.
Well, it depends. I mean, the season that Ashton Genty, and I thought a really good takeaway from yesterday, and I didn't watch the first preseason game, so I don't know if I missed it, but I think Mike Washington is an awesome backup to Genty to get some snaps in there. So, yeah, depending on how that O-line does and the year that they have behind them, I think maybe some fans will be on board with really beefing up the trenches.
All right, quick time out. We're going to hook up with Mark McMillian in a matter of minutes. It's Cofield and Company live here at TI Vegas.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, it's official. I stink. Mark McMillian, nice enough to wait on hold while I was ranting and raving. What a jackass. I just wanted to curse there. Let's bring in Mark with Alex White and Cofield. What's up, Mark?
What's going on, man? I was just listening to you guys, and I know you get fired up when you hear about the Raiders and the talk and all that. So I was just listening, man. That's some good insight there. I like it.
Well, listen, you played the game, and you were around young guys, and you were around young quarterbacks. What do you think about the continued push by people to say that Mendoza needs to play early when this organization has said, here's the plan, he's not playing early?
Well, those are the fans just like me now that I'm retired. We're sitting on the couch and we're eating Philly cheesesteak egg rolls and thinking that we're the Monday morning quarterbacks. There's no way you sit that young man out there, and you addressed it with the offensive line that they had. Obviously, they paid the young man Linderbaum coming over from Baltimore a lot of money. Jay Powers, they're still shuffling him in and out of guard. So it's some stuff that they still need to shore up on the front line. And why would you throw him out there early and you pay Kirk Cousins all this money? So you're going to pay him all that money to sit on the sideline and hold a clipboard and eat cheese curls?
It's crazy. And, the thing with Kirk, too, is there's a very delicate balance with a football team's ecosystem. You are a veteran on a lot of teams. The vets don't want to hear about a rebuild or a build early in the season. Like, you almost owe them a chance to go out and win for 8 to 10 games before you then turn the page and start to look to the future. That's Kirk is around to try to win games and to keep. I'll tell you what, you better keep Max Crosby happy. Otherwise, we know what's going to happen.
Oh yeah. Oh, if you put the young fella out there and they pee the bed real fast, they start losing games. People start getting pissed off, and they'll be talking about trade Max. Why do we go out and get Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins is still going to win some games, and he's a great guy to go learn from. And you paid him a lot of money, and like I said, Mendoza's just going to have to learn. He's got to wait his turn. You don't just throw a young guy out there and back of a line that they have. I know a lot of people like he's better at throwing the ball. Yeah, when he has time. And the last couple of years, the quarterbacks for the Raiders have all ended up on the injured reserve list. Even Aiden O'Connell. Behind that offensive line. So no way you throw Mendoza out there early, man. I know the fans are excited. We got the number 1 overall pick. But, man, you don't throw them out there with a makeshift line that they have right now. And they got a couple of weeks to shore it up.
Yeah, and in no way am I reacting to last night, so just don't misunderstand me here. But I want you to judge me on this one, and you can tell me, hey, you played in the NFL, I'm crazy. I think AOC actually should be the number 2 quarterback for the first 6 weeks of the season, and Fernando can be the emergency, the 3. What do you think of that?
Absolutely. People got on me on Twitter. I was like, there's no way Aiden O'Connor is the 3rd-string quarterback on this team, and everybody just started going at me hard on Twitter, which I love. Come at me, man. I don't back down from anybody, especially when you're talking about football. But Aiden O'Connor has won meaningful football games for this franchise. He's a veteran quarterback that's been in NFL games, has won, he's lost, he's been in the battle. So he's a solid one. You go, like you said earlier, Cousins goes down, which he has been the last couple of years he's been playing, then who are you going to throw in the young guy in the fire? No, just put an Aiden out there, and then he can continue to learn behind those guys, learn more film room, learn more film study. And we saw the last couple of weeks, there's no one solid one wide receiver that these guys can go out to as well. So there's a lot of things that have to happen for this guy to be successful being a quarterback in the National Football League. You have to have a solid offensive lineman. They're going to try to establish the run game, but you have to have a number one receiver, and they don't have that yet.
Mark McMillian is with Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. All right, give me your view on how the young defensive backs, cornerbacks, safeties played last night.
You know what? I was impressed with the young guys from Arizona. Those safeties, I can't draw a blank off those guys. One second round and sixth round pick from U of A. Been watching those guys since they were in Arizona, watching them fly around. I know Shin and Palomalo, their deal is up, and these guys have been playing really well on special teams. As far as the secondary, the starters didn't play much yesterday. As far as the safeties and the linebacker position, Max Crosby was obviously out, but they have a lot of guys. Porter's got to step up. This is his time to shine and show everybody why he was drafted so high coming out of Iowa State a year ago, and we'll see how that works out for those guys. But they have a lot of young nucleus guys. You got the guy from Tennessee who people are saying is a steal. He hasn't played football in over 2 years with the ACL injury, but he has an upside as well. But in the NFL, man, everybody's got an upside. The bottom line is you got to perform out there playing man-to-man on the island.
So, Mark, take us behind the scenes. You talk to a lot of NFL current players and coaches. Mm-hmm. What is the preseason like now, shrunk down as much as it is, and what happens to players who are trying to make squads? I mean, we were all, a lot of us were like, at least you're getting rid of these meaningless games. Like, those games do have meanings or a meaning for a lot of players trying to make the league.
Hey, I was one of those guys, man. I wish we had, obviously I had just enough preseason games, and I was able to play in all those games, and every game I got better and better. Obviously some of the veterans, obviously people probably get tired of talking about when we played. Our starters, we played a lot. With the starters before me, I was on the bench. But, Reggie White and Randall, all those guys played meaningful minutes, even sometimes going out in the whole half and coming out at halftime to see what it feels like. Now these guys are spitting sunflower seeds, wearing $1 million chains on the sideline, and then, try to ramp it up in week one, and that's when all the injuries happen. And you see that happen a lot in preseason. Guys are not able to tackle. The physicality is different on certain teams. I can't say that about the Houston Texans because they're going to bring it week in and week out. But it's difficult, man. But I'm happy for the guys to get another opportunity. This last game, all the guys that's on the bubble against the 49ers next week, those guys are going to get an opportunity to play. And hopefully, maybe not the Raiders workout, but maybe it'll work out for another team. So it's a tough day for any NFL player, man. I hate cut day because these guys put so much hard work into the craft. And then, you got to get down to 53 by next week.
Let's talk, believe it or not, high school football before college football.
Woo!
How about this game tonight? St. John Bosco in town to take on Gorman.
Yeah, I was texting Coach Negro, man. We and him are really good friends from St. John Bosco. I know a lot of people here in Vegas are probably like, why are you not rooting for Bishop Gorman? I am a California guy. And, I'm really welcome from St. John Bosco. Number one and number two right off the bat. This is going to be a great showdown. I'm excited to see this game and see how these teams fail. And it is good for Bishop Gorman because we know here in Nevada there's no team that can hang with that school. And being able to see them go out against the number one team in the nation, St. John Bosco Braves, man, it is going to be electric. The stadium's going to be packed, and I'm excited, man. I might even have to go down there and be on the sideline, Steve, tonight.
Chef Mark is with us. Mark McMillian, a former NFL player. All right, Chef, this week, what were the stars on the grill or in the kitchen? I think you did a cheeseburger, right?
Oh, man, I did a bacon chili cheeseburger. California, we love our chili cheese fries, our chili cheeseburgers, and I'm in the process of moving, so we don't have too much in our refrigerator. So I was like, man, I got some ground beef, I got some patties and some cheese, so let's go on and make some chili cheeseburgers and make some little crinkle fries and see how that works out. But California, man, we love our chili, man. It's something about California and chili cheeseburgers and chili cheese fries.
Do you make your own chili, or like you said, you don't have a lot in the pantry, so you had to go can?
I didn't go can. It's a brick chili that we used growing up. It's XLT. Back in California, it's a really good chili. If I had to, it's a really good chili. Actually, they reached out to me on the gram and said they would like to collaborate with me, so I'm excited about that. We're doing a collaboration with their chili, so I'm excited about that. There's a sausage company. I don't want to say their name yet, but we had a great talk this past week as well. They're out of San Francisco. We're going to do a couple of collaborations with them, with Grilling McMillian, tailgating, and all that good stuff. So, man, the food is about to be on and cracking, Steve. We need to get those Rebels fired up, man. We need to hit up a tailgate next week. The Memphis Tigers is coming to town, and they're excited.
I want to get to Memphis here in 2 minutes and Charles Huff, because I know you know him. This week was National Hot and Spicy Food Day. How spicy does chili need to be? And if it is spicy, what do you throw in?
Man, a lot of people like, throw some cayenne in there. A lot of people like to throw some red pepper flakes in there. You can throw some jalapenos in there. Obviously California, we love our jalapenos. But I still want to be able to taste the chili. I don't like it too hot. When I was young, just throw some jalapenos in there with the seeds in it. Let's get it and put it in a bag. But now I'm like, hey, can you take those seeds out of that jalapenos, man? That's a little too spicy for you, boy.
Is that right?
Like a wimp. I'm a little wimp right now, man, on the jalapenos. You got to take the seeds out for me, personally. But I know, if there's some callers out there talking trash, I would put a contest up and give you $50 for somebody that's going to eat some jalapenos on a chili cheeseburger that I make. And I'm going to go find the hottest pepper I can find, too.
Damn. All right. I didn't know you had to mellow it down with the spice. Who knew? Who knew when you get older you have to do that? In your case.
Hey, man. In my case, man, I gotta mellow it down. Steve, the old gut don't work like it used to, man.
Exactly.
And I don't need no fire in the hole, man.
The sensitive tummy. All right. Well, let's talk Memphis. Let's talk Memphis and Charles Huff. As the Tigers come to town, he's a brand new coach at Memphis. He brought in 71 new players. I was looking at the roster today. I really liked a lot of the players he brought in terms of playing experience. He's got 2 quarterbacks. Have you had a chance to talk to him? And I guess before that, let's not put the cart before the horse. Who is Charles Huff? What is his background? He certainly has ties to your alma mater.
Well, Coach Huff, man, he coached at Alabama, obviously, and built that relationship when he was there with Nick Saban, and always been a good guy, man. Even everywhere he went, he always reached out and made sure everything was good on my end. So, man, he's a great coach. He's fired up about this opportunity to be able to come here in Vegas. Coach Bowman, he's the defensive back coach. I've been knowing Coach Bowman for some years as well, man. It seems like the last couple of weeks, they're like, hey, we know you're in Vegas. What's going on there? I say, Coach, I can't give you no information on that. So just a friendly badgering, talking and seeing what, when they get to town. I'll go by the hotel and dap those guys up as well. And they said they were going to give me some swag, but they said they don't know how the UNLV Rebel fans going to take to that. So I said, man, I'm not going to wear any swag to the game. So I'm excited for this opportunity. We haven't seen each other in years, and so it's good to see that he has a job. Obviously this is a tough business. Memphis has always been a solid program. Even when I was at Alabama, we played in Memphis, and I think we only won by like a field goal. They played us tough. So it should be a good battle for UNLV. I know, UNLV's been working hard, and you've been covering them out there every day, and an opportunity to go out there a couple of practice. And this is exciting, for UNLV. Years ago, there was no excitement like this. Now it's like, man, the Memphis Tigers is coming to town. UNLV's got some good transfers coming in. You got some really good coaches coming in that's going to be battling out. So, man, I'm excited for the game next week. And it's only Friday, but it's college football, man. And, Steve, I love college football, and I love the band, man. I love the band.
Last minute, Mark. This is different for UNLV and this group of players because while they've had success the last 3 years, and there were some expectations last year, this is the first year really in any recent history over the last 20 years where the expectations are win the conference, get a CFP bid, win 10 games. How do you think they're going to deal with that? Because they've rarely been the hunted.
They'll do well. Like I said, they got some veteran players on the team. Obviously, with the NIL, you can bring older guys in that played meaningful football. You got Coach Mullins, who's a great motivator, great offensive mind. He's, bringing that to the table as well. And like you said, before the expectations was high, we're going to win the Mountain West, but then there was Boise State. So now there's no Boise State that was seen to be their nemesis the last couple of years. Now it's wide open for UNLV to step into that role and finally get the Mountain West Championship and see how that fails. So as a player, you want to be in that position. This is what you come to the UNLV for, to play in meaningful games, to play on national TV, and have a chance to play at the next level. And over the last couple of years, they've been having players that's been playing at the next level, which is exciting to see as well.
Mark, thank you. Thanks for being patient. And even though you and I talked multiple times this week about doing 3:15 every week, I will remember next week, 3:15 sharp.
You know what, Steve? That would have been a huge find if you walked into the meeting room with Barney Schottenheimer 15 minutes late. You might as well just go back home and just give up your game check, because there's no way you can walk into Marty Schottenheimer room 5 minutes late, nevertheless 15 minutes late. Man. But you're Steve Cofield. You're my guy, man. We've been doing this for a long time, and I'm looking forward to being on the sideline and chopping it up with you for the season for UNLV football again.
Thanks, Mark. I'll talk to you, buddy.
I appreciate it.
There he is, Chef Mark, at Mark McMillian 29, up on social media. Check out his stuff, and unbelievable what the food is his career developing further and further and further as a chef. On the way back, we'll do a little bit late, but our check-in on another preseason camp day for UNLV, talking about the punter.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Lots of UNLV talk coming up for the football game against Memphis. We'll have a pair of tickets going out in a little bit. Been covering practice pretty much every day when we're allowed in for practice. Right now it's shut down, getting ready for game week. Had a chance to talk to the new punter, Matt Schulz, and the new special teams coach, Mitch Singler, who bumps up from analyst role to full-time special teams coach. And Schulz is an Aussie. Last year, the Rebels had an Aussie. Matt Brown was, check that, Cam Brown was great, transferred to Michigan. I'm guessing he got some little couple of bags there. And Schulz was asked if he knew of Cam Brown.
Yeah, he's awesome. I was kicking with him about a month ago over in Michigan, in Ann Arbor. No, he's awesome. He's a legend, and he did a really good job here last year. Really, really hard worker, and just his work ethic's kind of rubbed off on me going out there. And yeah, he did a great job setting up a little bit of Australian love around here, so hopefully I can keep that going.
You mentioned kicking in Michigan. Is there a punter, kicker community here in Vegas?
In Vegas, not so much. I've gotten really lucky that I've kind of cultivated a bit of a relationship with AJ Cole over at the Raiders. And so he's kind of my guy here, just reaching out to him for advice. In Vegas, he's been unreal. Kicking with him's awesome. You see a true professional at work. As of guys, like other than that around here, there's not a lot, but the Australian connection is insane. So I could go to any state kind of and work with any of the guys at any of these schools, and it really just puts you in a good position going forward into the season.
With Cole, you've actually kicked with him?
Yeah.
So what's it like standing next to or watching in NFL? Can you tell the difference with a punter in the NFL?
Definitely. Like, I like to think that, we've all got similar legs. Everyone can kick a big ball, but the most impressive thing about a guy like him and these NFL guys is their hands. Their hands are so robotic and electric. Like, it's, for me, you kind of nerd out watching it. They're just the same thing every single time. And, you might hit a great ball and then hit kind of a shaky on the next one. He'll just hit that great ball over and over and over again. And it's really inspiring and really good to watch. But, yeah, it's just that consistent routine of every single muscle and every single step's in the exact same spot.
4 o'clock hours on the way. We'll build on more of the UNLV punter conversation on the way back.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, here we go. 4 o'clock hour, the Reno hour. Brought to you by Battleborn Injury Lawyer. 766-1400 is the number. Alex White, Cofield, TI Vegas, Golden Circle Sports Bar. We are on the Strip. Mateo's helping us out down here, back in our Finley Toyota Studios. It's James. Before we get to the Big Four, just to follow up with football fever here, special teamers rarely get any sort of love. And on this show, Adam Hill is the special teams expert for the Raiders. Like, he's like a honorary part of the room, so I know he's very heartbroken that they decided to go in a different direction with the kicker, which we will get to. That is not looking like the most wonderful decision right now to move on to Matt Gay and the Tokyo Toe. I am nowhere near the enthusiast about special teams. I respect it. I'll tell you what, I really appreciate who never gets attention in the special team room are the long snappers. Over the years with UNLV, I talked to a couple of the long snappers quite a bit. They never get attention unless
they mess up.
There's a bad snap.
Yeah.
Not that the kicker and the punter get a whole lot of love. Again, they mostly punter kind of gets killed if they get a punt blocked or, if they botch a snap. Kicker of the special teams room probably gets the most attention, especially when they make big kicks, and then they get a lot of guff if they miss. So the place kicker situation with the Rebels is kind of set. It's more than kind of. They have Ramon Villela back, and last year was 15 of 20. He's got to get a little better, and my guess is they may attempt more kicks this year. I think that said, he was 58 of 58 on extra points, so they were a high-scoring offense. The punter situation, there's a couple things in the punt game that have to get better. Their return on punts has to get better because last year it was basically just caretaker, just catch the ball and let's go. They need someone who's going to have a little more danger. But the punter has a lot to live up to, and we just played a little audio from Matt Schulz, who's in as the punter for UNLV. Last year was Cam Brown. He was an Aussie. Schulz was an Aussie. Schulz spent last year at Kennesaw State, did not kick. So you're thinking, wait, he was the backup at Kennesaw State, and UNLV wanted him? He said he had to get his academics in order. So I think that was the reason he didn't kick. And I trust that UNLV, through their connections, their connection is a kicking academy in Australia called Pro Kick. And that's where they got the guy Cam Brown. And Pro Kick has put several players in the NFL at the punting position. And Dan Mullen's had a lot of success with guys from Pro Kick. So in the case of this guy, Matt Schulz, I don't know if he is going to be good. They don't sit and kick in front of us. They're not booming kicks out there all the time. They're working off to the side. But if you trust in the connections they have, and it worked last year with Cam Brown because he was a top 10 punter in the country, and like I said before the break, he got the bag from Michigan. So we'll see what happens with one Matt Schulz. But I do think the angle there that I addressed at the end of that conversation, there is a kicker community, and the fact that he got to be around and develop a little relationship with A.J. Cole, I think is very cool.
Well, two things. It was cool to hear that the kicker community just throughout the states was so strong between them, but that makes sense now that you said all these guys kind of coming from that same spot, right? And then supporting each other, but really cool that he got to kick with A.J. Cole. And his reaction is even cooler when he said he was really nerding out and, things that we wouldn't notice, but the difference between college and pro and it being more about their hands. So
I didn't even think of that. And when he said, the hand placement and then just the consistency, I will tell you this. Yeah, I can hear. So I'm around the punter for UNLV in warm-ups. I don't cover the Raiders. When I go to the games, I go as a fan. And I do remember one of the Raider games I went to, A.J. Cole was out there warming up, and there was 1,000% discernible difference in the sound of when he hits the ball. I know it sounds crazy, but when I was watching him, I'm like, whoa, just crushing the ball. There is another level.
Yeah.
You ever try to punt a football?
I'm sure. I've tried.
You ever try to kick a field goal?
No, I have not.
I don't think people realize. I've tried. I don't think people realize, the mechanics and the incredible leg strength that these people have. And we'll go back to, Adam Vinatieri. Belichick. Show some appreciation, Belichick. Don't let me go down that path. But the fact that we have kickers, one, that can kick until they're 38, 40, 42 years old is nuts. And the other one is the advance of kickers physically and technique-wise to where, an NFL kicker, you missed a 52-yarder? You suck! That was not the case 10 years ago.
Right.
They're insane now how good they are. Now it's coaches, especially if they don't feel like they have anything to lose before halftime, it's yeah, let's go out and try a 67-yarder. What?
Yeah, it is crazy. I will say, I think Pat McAfee doing that kicking contest before game day or whichever one he's on has definitely showed people how tough it really is.
Oh, the college game day one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's nuts.
Yeah.
No one makes it. Hardly any.
And then when they do, it's awesome. Everybody's celebrating, going crazy. So. And
even, I know people mock on the punters and the kickers. And by the way, this guy Schulz is UNLV's kickers are. Viella is 6'2" and 210. Schulz is listed at 6'3" and 225. So they're not I'm going to make an old reference to Garo Upremian, who was I think weighed less than you, and you're rail thin. He was a tiny guy. Now they're actually kind of big dudes, and physically they're impressive. And I know I won't even get into the whole. We did it yesterday. The whole fatigue thing with Pat McAfee and how people are getting tired of him. He actually is as annoying as he is with the freaking cutoff sleeves and wearing the T-shirt all the time. Those guys are and NFL punters, especially when they're good. They're good. They are great athletes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Why? But you say that. I think a lot of people are nerd.
Yeah.
Can you do it? They're big-time athletes. And a lot of them played positions in football. I mean, even the long snappers. Hey, just because UNLV's new long snapper, we'll get to this later on. We got to get to the Big Four. Remind me, put it in the rundown in the grab bag. I will tell you about the visuals of the new UNLV long snapper standing next to the rest of the linemen. It is wild. All right, Big Four time.
Battleborn Injury Lawyers presents the Big Four at 4. Number 4.
And this will be a Big Four that bridges past 420 as we're on ESPN Reno and ESPN Las Vegas. Alex White, Cofield hanging out. Oh, good. The Jets are on the TV right in front of me. I don't get worked up about preseason with the Jets. Although Aaron Rodgers on the other side, I don't think he'll be seeing too much play, if any. You have not been in a while, and we have not had a chance to talk WNBA. Sophie Cunningham's in the news again. Did she hit a game-winning shot or have a double-double? Play some great defense? Nothing to do with getting slugged in the face, right, by Dejanay Carrington. What is Sophie saying now?
Well, looks like she actually called out the commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, and she said, you do have to have a person in power who is bold, who is confident, who wants the best for the players, and not maybe for themselves all the time. Told USA Today that. So, I don't completely disagree, because I do think that there's some pretty glaring flaws or issues at the top there with the WNBA. We've talked about it a lot, but you also have to be very careful and respectful, and there is an authority point too, right? So I don't know. I mean, I know they're trying to find the change that they need for this league, but what do you think?
Okay, a couple things. First of all, it's been established through news cycles that Kathy Engelbert is underqualified for the WNBA and the job at this point. So for Sophie Cunningham to kind of beat the dead horse, what's the point? And I'm sure she'll lean on, I'm guessing someone asked her. You don't have to answer. Secondly, who is she to be making the comments? You're an 8-point-per-game 7th man on your team. I'm getting a little tired of Sophie Cunningham, and it's great that she's got her podcast, and it's funny. We were talking about Dejanay Carrington and Sophie Cunningham about 2 weeks ago, and we talked about it a lot, the whole, she got slugged in the face, and I mentioned what Dejanay Carrington did. Sophie has done that to people. She is an aggressive, borderline dirty player, and I saw someone comment on social media like, oh, now you're just gaslighting. She's never done that. You don't watch WNBA, okay? And I will repeat the line again. Most of the people commenting on my social media about the WNBA who are like, oh, guys talking about WNBA. I was covering women's basketball before you were born, jabroni, okay? I've been around it for a long time. It's funny, I just saw a guy the other day. Here we go, another freaking off-kilter rant. I saw a radio cohort talking about, yesterday was National Radio Day, and the person said, after just over 2 decades in the business, And I sent something back to him. I was like, what were you, 11 when you started? 20 years. If we want to actually calculate, boy, I'm an arrogant ass. If you actually want to calculate the time I've been behind a mic, I am over 40 years now. Like, I'm old, right? And I'm telling you, I was covering college basketball as far back as covering it, like 1988. So I don't just say stuff willy-nilly. I'm not, Dan Dockich or Clay Travis or Jason Whitlock. It's not a grift. I like women's basketball. I have opinions on women's basketball. Let me finish on Sophie Cunningham. One more thing. So, who are you to be speaking about it? We know the poor lady is probably done, right? Kathy Engelbert. She's underqualified simply because the league wasn't what it is now back then when she got the job. She comes from the world of accounting and tech and Deloitte and Touche. That was fine, like building up the whole money aspect of it. She's not a front-facing person. And here's the worst one with Sophie Cunningham. She had her whole thing about the trans player or transgender player or transgender in sports, and she's like 8 days later after she offered it up, then she says to people, "Can we just cover the basketball?" Yeah, we can. So then why are you talking about the commissioner? I thought you wanted us to talk about basketball. This league is infuriating because at every turn they're like, well, how come we're always talking about all the other stuff around the game? Because you guys keep giving us material.
That's true.
And I'm sorry, I don't buy well, someone asked me about it. I had to answer. No, you didn't. You give a different answer. You give a gracious answer like, hey, she's doing the best job she can. We'll see what her future looks like. That's it.
Yeah.
But instead, she's got to freaking grind and take shots. I don't know what's going on with Alex today, but she's got me going with these topics. Next up in the Big Four.
Number 3.
Holy moly. If you think I'm worked up right now, watch what's going to come out here the next probably week or two. We got 30 seconds here and we'll carry this over. I was going to ask you, can you believe that there are now going to be a flood of college basketball super seniors and college football super seniors, including guys who were in NFL camps who may be playing college football by the end of the month?
I can definitely believe it.
Why is that?
I mean, just with where we are right now with sports and college sports and how much money there is to be made.
So hold that. Yep, opportunities are there. And guess what? The NCAA never sets rules. Never.
Plumber.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Alex White is here. It's Cofield and Company. Coming up on the halfway point of the show. We've barely gotten to much of the material on this Football Friday. Munching down on some Southpaw chicken tenders. Let me get the name right.
You did.
Because I now force you to
got it right.
Move your mic and that is right. Southpaw chicken tenders. Menu here is great. Football officially starts up with college football next week. Week 0. We will be bringing back our award-winning, someone's got to pick up the awards, right? Our award-winning Throw the Flag. I don't know who's hosting that show yet. I know Q Myers is in. I know that. That is 9 to 11 every Saturday, and it is chock full of football talk. They start breakfast here early in the morning, and then you got your regular menu where, as I say all the time, it doesn't look like a menu on the strip because everything is kind of kept in line in terms of prices. You're not getting a $39 burger, and the chicken tenders we're crunching on are not $38. So they've done a good job of holding the prices here in line when prices are exploding everywhere. So great spot. The other cool thing is 10A to 6P. 7 days a week happy hour.
Wow.
10A to 6P, $5 on select draft beers here at the Golden Circle Sports Bar. So come on down. Parking is free, so you're not paying $25 on the top of your tab right when you walk in the door. I hate that. Okay. So people watching on video probably can't tell, and maybe people listening on radio and on the internet. I don't even know if you can pick up that. I'm a little frenzied today. There's just a lot going on, and I talk about this all the time, that if you watch Beavis and Butthead, when Beavis would go into like cornholio mode, where he'd put his shirt over his head and start running around and just going crazy. I'm in the mode today. I'm doing way too much. I got to calm down. As Dana White would say about Fridays, I'm doing basically an F it Friday. We're all over the place, but we got so much good stuff to talk about. So we started the Big Four, and we just started to get into something that is going to be crazy here, and it's happening. It's happening! Yeah, I mentioned before the break, the NCAA never sets rules. And really, better stated, is the NCAA never sets rules with the courts, and more importantly, the athletes in mind. Because they've been such pigs over the years and allowed to do whatever they want, right? And if 10 years ago, you're like, hey, college sports administrator at the NCAA level, the school level, what about the kids? Right? They'd be like, who cares? The kids! What are they going to do? Here's my thumb. Squash. Do whatever they want. Well, that's not the case anymore. Because as we're finding out, and I don't know, I thought I saw this from like a very early age, the athletes were always treated kind of poorly. They always had no rights. These guys were obnoxious and profiteering to just ridiculous levels. It's totally un-American. If you work a job and you watch the way athletes are treated, sure, they get a scholarship. Awesome. They also generate millions and millions and millions of dollars. If they didn't, then coaches wouldn't be jumping from job to job for millions, if not tens of millions of dollars. And at every turn, Alex, in their treatment of the athletes, they keep getting taken to court, and it's been years now, and they just keep losing and losing and losing. So they come up with this new rule. I think it's a great idea. Hey, give kids 5 years to complete your eligibility. You can play all 5 years. And it also cleans up the, multiple redshirt years or injury years. Let's be more clear on this. But what they didn't do is take into consideration that when you do it in the middle of a year or kind of right before, it was late. It came down kind of late at the end of last year, and then it's being instituted at the beginning of fall sports. They didn't take into account, like, the 2022 kids are going to be like, hey, I want my 5th year. And I don't know if 2022 right, but you get my point. The outgoing seniors didn't get their 5 and 5. You can't just arbitrarily have this weird starting point. And now they're all looking at it going, hey, I want to play. So they're taken to the court. It's gone to court in like 7 states. NCAA has lost in all 7 states. And now we're going to have the floodgates open. And I'm not mad. I'm mad at the NCAA for never having the foresight to make the easy decision. Like, we're not attorneys. We're not experts on that front. But, like, anyone could see that this was going to happen, that last year's seniors are going to go, hey, I didn't get my 5 and 5 year.
So how do you think this turns out? Is it going to be state by state? Because basketball last year, with a couple guys trying to go back from pros, but that they had actually played. Now these guys haven't actually.
Well, those were one-off cases.
Yeah.
What's happening now is you've got
just because of after that season.
You've got group cases. So cases have been brought in New York and Ohio and Texas and California and Colorado, and I know I'm missing like 3 states. So
Louisiana.
As an example, I think North Carolina, Louisiana. Kamani Hamilton, who wants to have his 5 and 5, the former Rebel, I think he was part of the North Carolina case, and then he may be part of the California case. So now what's happening, school starts up. Some schools have already started up. In the case of UNLV, classes start on Monday. We talked to Josh Pastner on this past Monday, and he said, hey, we're still looking for players because there's going to be more players eligible. He said, I don't know if it's 100% guaranteed, like if we sign someone that they'll be good to go. I've been talking to compliance. But this is what I love what he said. Last Monday, he's like, well, we're having our first team meeting on Sunday, so that's 2 days from now, and classes start the day after. I would like to have my team set by the weekend. What? But I also admire him and other coaches who kept a couple of spots open.
Yeah.
Because I think we all knew this was going to happen. I did. We've been talking about Kamani Hamilton and Howie Fleming, outgoing seniors, who feel like they should have a fifth year. We've been talking about them for 3 months.
Right. Yeah, and then they made that decision late after that school year, or close to around that time. So,
yep.
But then
and now even crazier on the football front, you've had guys who technically were done with their eligibility, went in NFL camps. Some may have played, we'll call it semi-pro football, like LaTerrence Welch of UNLV, who played for the Nighthawks, and they're like, I'd like my 5-5. So UNLV's added back 2 guys. One of your crazy one, New Mexico's kicker from last year was in a camp, and this week they're working on getting him back for a super senior season.
Wow. So are the 2 guys for UNLV, are they eligible?
They're near the finish line. I think they're. I hate talking about this because then I'll inevitably get a text like, yeah, this one is and the other one isn't. And then I'll talk to someone else who's connected to it. Well, both aren't or both are. Here's the thing: if you're a coach, and Justin Watkins, our legal insider, was saying this the other day, you're silly if you're not hyper aggressive. Go and try it. And yeah, I saw Amy Trask, who former president of the Raiders, sent out a message and said, it's wild right now. Kids are making, major decisions in their lives without knowing what the future really holds. And I don't know if she was saying, hey, don't come back to school, but I would completely disagree with that. If I'm LaTerrence Welch, if I'm Spellman, if I'm the kicker at New Mexico just brought in a linebacker from Memphis, what's the worst that happens? Because I think at this point the school would have to honor their commitment to you on the academic front.
Right.
So if you don't get to play football, you get to go to school for another year. And I don't know all the details on that front. If it's paid for, but maybe it's paid for. I mean, you put me in front of anyone. You're younger than me, and maybe you feel the same way. If I could be in school now, if I was in my 38th year of school, and I could do radio for a small salary, I'd still be going to school.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a little stretch, but go to school as long as you can. Get as many degrees as you can, and most importantly, talk to as many connected alums and rich people as possible, and work it out so you have a job for life or some kind of job coming out.
I mean, it's definitely shifted in the last 5 to 10 years here, where I agree with that. I would have gone to school forever. I enjoyed it and agree with that, and in the field that I wanted to do. But now so many more options for trade and kind of entrepreneur doing your own thing too.
Well, that's too. You can make money. I mean, I just said at a minimum, you get your schooling, but hell, when you go back, now you can maybe get a little scratch. I think it's pretty late. It's pretty late in the budget cycle. But BYU just got a commitment. They beat out Kentucky for a power forward from Michigan State. You think he's going there for free?
No.
No way.
I know he's not.
Right? There's a bidding war on that one. Now, here's the thing. I'm sure, I said it earlier. If you're a coach and you didn't leave one spot open, that's on you. Because generally your last spot is going to be a walk-on or 2. You had to see this coming.
Right.
Or at least the possibility of it coming. Now, here's the question for you in our last 40 seconds before we got to go to break here. Does this matter to you in football? Because you have to handicap these things.
Right.
And there's no lead time now. Like we have no idea if this linebacker who just got to New Mexico, and I was reading, one reporter was saying he's playing with the 1s and 2s. I'm like, wait, you got to. Now, it's one linebacker.
Right.
Are you worried now? You're like, hey, New Mexico's kicker might be a lot better. Now I got to handicap that.
Well, geez, the kicker is a pretty important part. But
right. All right, hold that thought. We'll take a break here. We got the A Spotlight coming up later this hour. Also, conversations with John Martin in about a half an hour. Insider expert on Memphis football.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Just past the halfway point of Cofield and Company. Time for our A's Spotlight, daily look at the A's. This has slowly morphed into a Major League Baseball Spotlight. It's gotten tough to break down the A's.
Yeah.
How do you even explain what's happened here?
Well,
just how between losing and the pitching staff being awful, and then every hitter they have has some kind of injury.
Yeah, tough injuries. But going into the season, we knew that the pitching was definitely going to be the weakness, and not the starters necessarily, but the relief pitching, and we have definitely seen that. I mean, this last series for the A's against the Royals was so brutal, and I wasn't really watching games, but just kind of tracking and seeing them winning, just to go back and see them give up 3 or 4 in the ninth, so it's just been tough from that standpoint. Looks like their offense has figured some things out again, and maybe they're getting a
little healthy. Hopefully,
getting healthier. Yeah,
is Denzel Clark playing now?
He's doing a rehab assignment with the Aviators.
Well, I'll tell you what. If hopefully he can make it back for the final 25 games of the season. He needs to.
Yeah.
Not that they're going to write him off based on how he does in the 25 games, but he needs to get his confidence back. Geloff, please, just get healthy, stay healthy.
Yes.
He was starting to break out. But yeah, Kurt, Soderstrom, Jacob Wilson, and who's the other hitter I'm just blanking on, but also JKG, who was going to get a chance to play a bunch this year, had the groin problem. Will be nice to leave it at that. He might be back for the last 20 games of the season. But yeah, the build really got stymied. And on the flip side of it, though, I also think, I'm not going to say they're tanking, but if you have a chance to shut down some of your best players, if they're only going to make it back, for 2 weeks, I guess I'm mostly fine with that. The thing I have for you, and this is kind of a joke the way I'm going to say it, because a lot of these pitchers have been on we need to come up with a name for the shuttle, right? It used to be, the Yankees used to have the Columbus shuttle when their AAA team was in Columbus, Ohio, but the players go back and forth, from Vegas to Sacramento. When you see the pitchers come back, you say hi and you're like, sorry. Sorry it didn't work out in the majors. It's been rough for some of these guys when they've gone up.
Yeah, it has. And it has been a lot of back and forth with the pitchers. And it's tough to see because, there's a few that did really well. And to do well in the PCL is saying something, right? Because it's a lot of hitter-friendly parks. And, the Las Vegas ballpark's one of them. But then to go up and then struggle. But I don't know. I don't really think it's been that awkward. I think there's just been such a collective, right, and them trying to figure it out, and probably too much bouncing around back and forth with the pitching rotations and the staff, but yeah.
It's not been pleasant. And a guy like Mason Barnett, who I feel really bad for, and then actually admitted in a post-game convo that he's kind of his confidence got shattered. He's really got to get his mental part of it back. So, and then hopefully down the stretch, a guy like Gage Jump, he went around the league, had a good run, then second time around the league, not so good. Hopefully he can have a productive final 30 games of the season. Major League Baseball Spotlight. What's the story with Sawyer? How do you say his last name? Strauss? No, is it Snow-Snyder? Strauss-Snyder? Stroh-Snyder?
Making his first start tonight? No, tomorrow.
No, there was a guy who hit his first professional home run.
Oh, the minor league player for the Brewers.
Yep.
Sorry, got that mixed
My bad.
up.
I left out prospect.
No, yeah. So his first professional home run, and his dad actually caught it. So I thought that was a fun, good story.
What are the odds of that?
I know. We've had some crazy baseball stories as of late, though. The Cardinals came,
three home runs.
with 3 for 4 with 3 home runs.
And then I think he went 0 for 18 after that by us. It's crazy. All right, last 20 seconds here. Aviators in Albuquerque, and then back, August 25th?
Back August 25th, Tuesday through Sunday. Fun week. I know Thursday is country night, which has been a big draw for us out there, and they're playing good. We're hoping that they can keep it going because they are already in the playoffs, so got to just keep it going until the rest of the season.
City.com.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, rolling on here. 5 o'clock hour on the way. We're going to talk to John Martin, Memphis expert, on the Memphis UNLV game, and also check in a little later than normal, but a busy day for Sam Panayotovich. So we'll talk to Sammy P., our gambling expert and reporter out of Chicago, Fox 32. So with Sammy, I wanted to hit a bunch of props, but I always like running this stuff by you. Some futures. Alex White is here, of course, from FoxyOdds.com.
Thank you.
Brand new website. Doing beta testing right now. How do people go and be part of the test group?
Well, you just go to FoxyOdds.com and you'll see right there. It'll say sign up today or join the early access, and then you'll just punch in your email. It's really easy.
Some NFL futures to look at. Let's not be prisoners of the moment with Jaden Daniels because of the nonsense, with the number 5. What do we think Jaden Daniels is going to do this year?
Well, if he can stay healthy, I think he will have a bounce back year. Wouldn't you think?
I think that's the problem. And by the way, James, hey, let's give Chuck Esposito a buzz. Chuck's going to come on from STN Sportsbook, so we'll get Chuck up here in a second. We'll start with him on the Jaden Daniels thing. I have zero confidence that Jaden Daniels is going to stay healthy, and I hate the fact that Laramie Tunsil went down. So I just think the way he has to play the game to succeed. Same thing with Jackson Dart. I would not bet any total over for Jackson Dart. And if you lose, you lose. And I'm not saying you're rooting for someone to get hurt, but I think you have to play. You got to be smart when you play with certain guys. That the odds of them getting in 17 games is next to nothing.
Man, I hope he can stay healthy. I really do. And there is I do think if Jaden Daniels can play smarter and not tuck the ball and run quite as much, right? I think he could.
Let's bring in our buddy Chuck Esposito from STN Sportsbooks, STN Sports app. Hey, Chuck, how are you?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you tonight?
Pretty good. Alex White's here. It's Cofield. So we were just talking about some futures around the National Football League, and then we'll roll by the Week 2 in the preseason with you and also what happened last night with the Raiders. We were just talking about playing over-under, especially offensive stats, and dealing with guys who have an injury history. Now, in the case of Jaden Daniels, it's not a long history because he's only been in the NFL for 2 years, but he had injuries in college. As a bettor, how would you approach a number like, I forget what it is in most places, 32.56 over-under passing yards on a guy like Jaden Daniels?
Well, I think you look at a guy like Jaden Daniels, you look at a guy like Joe Burrow with the injury history. It's hard. I mean, that number is based on them playing X amount of games. If they're not going to play that game, you see a lot of maybe more sharper, sophisticated bets come in on the under due to the fact that those guys may sit the last week of the season if it's a meaningless game and may be out for a certain time because of an injury. So, we're going to move it a lot faster on some of those props based on who's playing it, but it's definitely something to consider, especially when you see some sharp money come in on the unders.
I'm glad you brought Burrow into the conversation because for a lot of people, a real hot play is Burrow 8-1 to win MVP, and I guess you got to kind of have the same rationale, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to take a flyer on him, that he's got Chase and he's got Higgins and Chase Brown, not a great defense, a team that could be, in a number of shootouts, which bodes well for Joe Burrow. However, he's got to stay upright for that to be a value ticket at 8-1.
All right, let's talk about last night's game. Raiders, in the end, come through, but it was real ugly there in the first half. And I want your thoughts on Fernando Mendoza and what you saw.
Well, I mean, number one, the first half, really, we saw a big push on the Raiders, and I think that was because Mendoza was going to play the first half, and Stroud and the offensive players for the Texans weren't. Overall, it was a good outcome for us. Even though the Raiders won the game, the first half was the bigger of the two decisions. I know we talked about this the last couple of weeks, and I think the Raiders make the right decision again by not starting Mendoza. I think, you make the mistake that he made last night on the Texans 20, and the ball probably falls to the turf in college. In the NFL, it got returned for an 80-yard touchdown. So I think, he still has a lot of stuff that he has to learn. He admitted that. I give him credit for trying to chase that guy down and make the tackle. He gained a lot of respect from me for doing that. I'm sure Raider Nation wasn't happy that he landed on that shoulder, and, if he was out for an extended period, that hurts. But there's still a lot he has to learn. I think they clearly make the right decision, although they haven't announced it publicly yet. I think you have to start Kirk Cousins. There's still many question marks for me on Fernando Mendoza at this point. I think he will be a good pro, but I think he needs to sit for a while and really understand the speed of the NFL game.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought you were telling me that much of the betting in these first two games has been pro-Raider on the Raiders side. Is that correct?
It has been, but it was a much bigger push on last night's game on the first half, knowing that he was going to play the entire first half and that the Texans weren't going to play a lot of their starters. So the bigger decision for us last night was first half, and the Texans were dominant in the first half, which was a positive outcome for our side of the counter.
Alex White's here. It's Cofield. Chuck Esposito, STN Sports App, Sportsbooks, is with us. I'm going to start with Alex on this and then bounce it to Chuck. For Survivor, I've heard people, including one of our cohorts, Jeff Parle, say he's considering the Raiders in Survivor in Week 1.
Wow.
What would you do? Any shot?
I do not think so.
Okay. Chuck?
I think it's really tough.
What do you think when you hear that?
I think it's tough. I mean, they're going to have to – you look at their schedule and who they play in their division. It's a really tough division, and the three teams above them are all playoff teams and really, really good. I know you want to pick teams that you may never have you don't want to have to use again, but, man, I think it's really tough. I think the Jags are a team that I might pick. I know that there's a certain team out west with a double-digit number that everybody seems to love, but that's the big favorite, and I usually stay away from that. I like the Jags more than I do the Raiders Week 1 for a Survivor pool.
Yeah, whatever Survivor contest you're in, you're making an investment. That's a lot of money to spend on what could be a one-week experience on a Raiders team. And here's my worry, because even with Kirk Cousins in there, again, watching the O-line last night, and all the ones weren't playing, but the O-line's my biggest question on this team.
I think the defense is a little bit, too. I know you didn't have Crosby playing a lot of the starters, but I've watched them now for a couple of weeks. And, I mean, you talk about a Dolphin team that, A-Chain's a very talented back. And although Malik Willis, has been in the league for a while, he's still a serviceable starting quarterback. I think the Dolphins, gave him a big contract. And to me, it's not a lock the Raiders blow them out Week 1. I think the Dolphins are clearly live in that game, and I don't know if I'd risk a Survivor pick on the Raiders Week 1, personal opinion.
Did you see anything last night or just, at a minimum, tell us about the betting action? Where were people going with San Fran and the Chargers, which turned out to be a Niners blowout?
Yeah, both outcomes were really good for us guys. As I mentioned, the first half of the Raider game and the Niner overall outcome was a good outcome for us. All the injuries the Niners have, you figured they'd have a lot of guys kind of sitting out. So both outcomes were good. Preseason's actually been good so far, knock on wood. It's not always the case. We move games so much more aggressively. There was a game we moved from 2 to 3.5, and then back down to the 3 and then to 2. So it doesn't really happen during the regular season like that, where you skip over 3, but it does in the preseason much more frequently. So a lot of volatility there. We're in an information era. There's a lot of stuff out there about what quarterbacks are playing and what the rotation is, but you don't necessarily know how long they're going to play. So to me, the quarterback rotation is the key, but games are moved way more aggressively and much more quickly in preseason, guys.
All right, let's talk last man standing. What's cooking?
Yep, last man standing, pro in college. We guarantee $150K in the pro, $100K in college. It is aggregate payout, so if there's multiple winners, they would split. Works just like the college basketball tournament. You win and you move on. You lose and you go home. $25 entry fee gets you 1. For $100, you get 4 entries and a bonus 5th entry. So we're taking applications for both right now. Get signed up. Last Man Standing is our signature contest. And, again, I know there's some big money contests that are out there, but this is a great opportunity for a smaller investment of $25 or up to $100 to get you 5 entries to win $150 or $100K.
Right now, game 7-0, Jets on top of Pittsburgh. 8 minutes for the half. 8 minutes left in the first quarter. Scoreless, Carolina and Jacksonville. What's the action right now on the game that's coming up in about 65 minutes with Green Bay and Denver?
I think when you look at that game, see what the early push was on that game, guys. We're currently at 6. We opened the game at 4.5, so there was a big push. We got all the way up to 7.5 on Denver before it came back down a little bit. So looks like we're Packer fans a bit in this one.
Chuck, I'm going to make a left turn here and go to baseball down the stretch. First of all, are you guys still offering all futures on World Series and AL?
We are. We are.
Okay.
We are. I think there's, I look at the American League guys, and I'm hard-pressed to pick who I think is the best team in the American League right now. I really am. I know Boston, kind of the sexy or the Vogue pick right now because how well they've been playing. But I think the National League, you look at the teams at the top, and the National League is going to be fun. I'm just really uncertain on the American League right now.
This one's tough to say. With the Yankees at, say around $2, $2.50, can there be value with the speculation that, hey, Judge could be back, Bellinger will be back? Their pitching staff is actually over the last 30 days, 30 games, like the number one pitching staff in the league, but they're hitting 193 as a team.
You stole my thunder. I was going to say pitching isn't the issue. It's hitting. They're one of the worst hitting teams in baseball. Yeah, I guess you get in and anything can happen, and they get those guys healthy and they're playing well. Absolutely. There's the mystique about the Yankees, but it's just hard to like a team that is struggling so much with hitting the ball.
I'm on an island on this one, and you could tell me I'm wrong. I don't care what the speculation on the Dodgers, like, hey, everyone's coming back at even money to win the National League. I still have so many worries about the Dodgers. I don't like that Diaz went down, so now the bullpen is a mess. Are people just still trucking along with the Dodgers, still betting them?
Yes and no. On a nightly basis, yes. We still need whoever they're playing. But as far as future book at the price, no. We've seen, the Cubs have created some value now. I think a team that was banged up and is getting a lot of their pitchers back again. I think they'll be able to set up the rotation, have guys that can play a role as a reliever or a starter. They can hit like crazy too. They're a very good hitting team. So I think there's some value with them a little bit, but I tend to agree with you with the Dodgers. I'm a little bit concerned, especially with the back end right now, and the fact that they have been, they're hitting a little bit better now, but they went through that spurt where they really were struggling a bit at the plate.
Chuck, last 20 seconds. Remind people about the boost up now with the no worry wager when you sign up.
Yeah, it's a great thing. $100 no worry wager when you get signed up now. Football season's here. Baseball postseason is right around the corner. You win the bet, great. If you lose the bet, we're going to give you that back and give you another shot at it. So get signed up for SDN Sports today. A lot of cool stuff on the app, and it really does bring the sports book to you. We love when guests come out and experience everything we have in all of our properties, guys. But if you can't be here, get SDN Sports. It really does bring the book to you.
Chuck, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
SDN Sports app, sign up for it. SDN Sportsbook, they got one here at TI Vegas at the Golden Circle Sports Bar. They got the windows, they got the kiosks, but the app is the best way to go, so sign up. On the way back, we're going to go deep divey on UNLV and Memphis. We'll talk to one of the Tiger media experts, John Martin from 92.9 ESPN in Memphis.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Back here on Cofield and Company. Yep, just 8 days until the opener, week 0. Memphis is in town to take on your UNLV Rebels, and John Martin covers the Memphis scene as closely as anyone for 92.9 ESPN. So first off, who is Charles Huff? Because you and I have talked a bunch of times. I don't think we ever got into the process of hiring Charles Huff.
Yeah, I think he's a builder. I think he's a coach who has obviously coached under, some of the most high profile guys in the sport, James Franklin, Nick Saban. And I think he takes a lot of those principles with him, but he built at Marshall where, he kind of hit the scene and upset Notre Dame. Then he took a better job with a little bit more resources in Southern Miss. And I wouldn't say he found the same success, but again, I don't think you're dealing with a bunch of resources in Hattiesburg either. And obviously took him to bowl games and had success there as well. So I think Memphis looks at him as a guy, Steve, who went to jobs that didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a lot of facilities, didn't have a lot of resources, and found ways to be successful and build. And they said, hey, we have just about as much, if not more, than anybody in the group of six. Come try your hand at a place where you're going to have the things you need. So I think that's kind of the thinking behind hiring Charles Huff here at Memphis.
Was there a yearning amongst fans? You know how these things go with coaching lists where they wanted a much bigger name?
Yeah, they wanted your guy. They wanted Dan Mullen. And I get it. I mean, Dan Mullen is a name where if you're in Memphis, you remember the Mississippi State days, right, with Dak and being number one, and obviously UNLV had a super high octane offense last year, and there's no doubt that Dan is doing a really good job, and honestly did a good job at Florida, with the benefit of hindsight, even if they didn't think so at the time. So yeah, I mean, I think there was definitely big. That never had legs, but you asked about fans. I think there were some people in Memphis that would have liked to see Dan, take the job, but obviously, that wasn't ever anything that seemed to get off the ground.
Let's talk offense first, and his choice of OC, who comes over from Old Dominion, Kevin Decker. What do we know about him?
Points. That's why Charles Huff hired him at Old Dominion. Last year you look at their quarterback Colton Joseph, who I think is at Wisconsin now. Points. That is what Charles Huff said. You obviously have to score to win football games. And, he said when we would game plan against him at Marshall and other stops, it was always, we had fits. So I think that was kind of the idea there is, he was familiar with him at other conferences, and he knows what he's capable of. So it's about the points and the offense that he's going to bring.
Obviously, the quarterback battle is a gigantic thing at Memphis with Marcus Stokes and Aaron Nolan. Can you give the Vegas audience the background on each guy?
Well, Marcus Stokes is a guy that was committed to Florida, and then he had some personal transgressions where he used a slur. I think he was singing it as part of like a rap song or something, but it still happened, and obviously he had to take a little bit more of a wayward route back to Division I. But obviously the talent is there. Finished second in the Harlan Hill Trophy, or for the Harlan Hill Trophy, which is the best player, and it's basically the Heisman of Division II. Trinidad Chambliss a couple years ago finished third. So the kid is coming in with a lot of ability, obviously, and then. For Aaron Nolan, Aaron Nolan is a guy who, been to Ohio State, been to South Carolina, never for whatever reason was able to, to get the starting job. But ultimately, I think they have a bunch of talent in that room. It does seem like it's going to be Marcus Stokes. They gave him the bigger bag from an NIL perspective, from what I hear. But they're saying it's still a competition, even though it feels like kind of a foregone conclusion that Marcus is going to be the guy.
By the way, on the size of the bag, I don't know what Memphis has in terms of total budget for two quarterbacks. What are we talking? You have a rough range of what they're paying each guy?
I don't know about each guy, but I was told it was approaching seven figures for Marcus Stokes. Yeah. So,
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Memphis ain't. They're not. I don't know if I don't know if I can curse on your show here, but they're not BSing when it comes to the money. They're doing full rev share, which I believe in the group of five or group of six or whatever it is now, they're one of two known schools that are doing full rev share, along with South Florida. So I don't know if they're going to be able to do that forever. In fact, I know they're not going to be able to do it forever. But for now, they are definitely doing it. And obviously, Marcus Stokes is going to be one of the beneficiaries of that.
Yeah, I'm assuming Jackson Arnold did not get near seven figures. And UNLV has built up their coffers, so their budget's pretty good. It's probably top, 7 in group of 5 or group of 6. But, yeah, Memphis is big-time baller. One thing I wanted to get straight, Aaron Nolan, lefty, Stokes, righty. So if they were interchangeable during a game, that would be kind of an interesting look for the offense, I think, adjusting.
Yeah, I mean – everybody seems to think you're going to see it, in the first game. And maybe the same is true of you guys as well. So, I'm not really a big believer in that. I'm not a believer in multiple quarterbacks. I get like for packages, I could see a world where with Orji, because he's more of a runner, or at least he presents that threat, I could see that. But if you have two, because that's not Nolan's game, right? Nolan and Stokes, like, they're quarterbacks. So if you have two pure passers, it doesn't really make sense to me, and it doesn't seem suitable to use both of those guys. They say they might, but I think that's just talk, really.
John Martin talking Memphis football. Is Memphis in town in 8 days to take on UNLV at the Allegiant Stadium in a 7 p. local start. All right, offensively, what is going to be the philosophy? Most of what I've read is Huff ain't about throwing 40 times, that he's going to use a lot off his running game here. I think it's really interesting that the O-line is an entirely new O-line, like 9 transfers, and then the running back room is all basically new as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about college football these days, is like you don't, especially with a new coach, you have no idea. Now, he said things like, I don't care how we win. If I have to score 60 points and win 62-60, I'll do that. If I have to win 3-2, I'll do that. He said, he also said he wants to snap the ball as fast as humanly possible. That was the beginning. That was, before he actually assembled the team. So that was his introductory press conference. So you never know, right? Like you never know. Guys kind of get gassed up, they get excited. I mean, he's great at that. Like, he is a great talker. He is a great seller of the program. He said, I got to be Martin Luther King, I got to be Vince Lombardi, and I got to be John F. Kennedy at Memphis. I got to be all those things. So, I think just being a winner would be enough. But obviously, I do think there has to be some community outreach. My point is, great seller. But who knows? We'll get our first look at what he really can do, with his roster. But he did say, he wants to snap the ball fast. He wants to play fast. So that's going to get put to the test, obviously, on Saturday.
And I will say to the Vegas audience, while the belief is, hey, you're facing a new coaching staff and 71 transfers, it is key to mention that some of the coaches came over from Southern Miss. You just mentioned the ties of Huff to Guidry. I saw Old Dominion players on the roster, and I think there's at least 17 Southern Miss players on the roster. And listen, it's not Indiana where James Madison came over with Signetti, but that does help when you bring over familiar faces.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's part of the deal now, right? It's why, like, you hire coaches from these smaller stops because they can bring them, right? I mean, you might hire a head coach from a lower level as opposed to a sexy OC from a Power 4 because they might bring more guys. I mean, I don't think Huff brought as many as he would have liked. A couple of those guys did end up going, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and there's really nothing you could do about that. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely brought some pretty decent pieces. Again, I don't want to overstate it though, because I bet if you sat him down, he'd say, I didn't really get the dogs. There's a kid, Chris Jones, a linebacker, he wanted to bring, lost to the SEC. So not the best pieces, but, definitely some guys that know what he wants and what he expects. So it will be less of a new thing for them than it would be otherwise.
Okay, let's talk about season expectations, because at UNLV with the fans, this is a program that routinely won 4 games, never made bowl games. Odom comes in, Mullen comes in. They win 30 games in 3 years, and now people look at the schedule like, oh, that's easy, 10 wins. Like, okay. Are Memphis fans like that, or are they a little more realistic? Because I know you told me last year that they weren't exactly like super high on the former coach anyway.
No, there was a parade when Silverfield got the Arkansas job. I mean, seriously, they were so happy. I think they're realistic, but I also think they're they're so starved. I mean, they haven't been to the AAC championship game since 2019. And when you spend and when you have the resources and facilities and the things that Memphis has, I mean, that's quite simply an unacceptable drought. I can't really put it on Charles Huff to do this year one. It's not really fair to do that, even though they are at full rev share. I still think the majority of that is going to basketball. Basketball's getting $9 million-ish. Ooh. So yeah, it's not all football. It's not even majority football. So I am hesitant to put that on Huff right now. But yeah, I mean, I think certainly, year 2, year 3, that's got to happen for him, and I know he obviously it's good for him if it does. So I think they're realistic, but they're definitely, there's some antsiness around here because it's been so long since they've gotten to that platform.
John Martin, Memphis expert, 92.9 in Memphis, is talking Tiger football as UNLV is taking on Memphis next Saturday. I hate the schedule coming out of the gates. I hate it for Huff. At UNLV, then home against Arkansas State, which is in that region, that's a big game. And then you have to go all the way to Boise?
Yes, I wouldn't. And again, this, like everybody in Memphis, including the AD, kind of disagrees with me on this. I just don't think I would have scheduled this UNLV game. I just don't. I mean, I understand the upside. Right. I mean, if we all operate on best case scenario, I mean, I get it. You solidify yourself week 0. You have the great stage on Fox. I get that. You're a 6-point dog, and so the likelihood is I'm not saying you're going to get smacked, but you're going to probably lose. That's the probability. And then, this Boise series was scheduled years out. So this is a return game from, I think, 2023. I like having one of these, Steve. Yeah. But the reality of it is that it's just, I look at it as overkill, because if Memphis beats UNLV, let's just say they beat UNLV, it still doesn't matter unless they win the American. Like, they still have to handle business on the back end, or else it'll all kind of be rendered irrelevant. So I think you could really just replace UNLV with a worse team from the group of 6, get the guaranteed win, stay alive, and then you still have to do what you have to do, which is win the American. And if you're, 8-1, 9-1, 10-1, great chance, right? Given history, great chance that you're going to still be the front runner for that playoff spot. I get it. They're trying to remove the doubt with the UNLV game, and UNLV is trying to do the same thing, but it's just unfortunate because UNLV is just further along than you, and this is there. So that's just the way she goes sometimes, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you what, John, if Memphis goes through the season with 1, even 2 losses and is in the race for the group of 6 bid, if they get through this AAC almost unscathed, I mean, the depth in this conference with Navy, UTSA, Tulane, Army, South Florida, ECU, I mean, even FAU's decent. I mean, this is a good conference.
Great conference in football. I love the conference in football. I hate the conference in basketball. I mean, even though it's getting better, it seems like. But yeah, football is not the problem. I mean, football is totally where it needs to be. I mean, you definitely have, Tulane beat USC in a New Year's Day Bowl a couple of years ago with Caleb Williams. I know that was a couple coaches ago, but you have coaches routinely getting better jobs out of this league. It's definitely solidified itself as that next best. We'll see with the new machination of the Mountain West and the Pac-12. Obviously, that'll have to settle, but it's definitely solidified itself as that, which again, great for football. But, I was a big proponent of going to the Pac-12 when that offer came around for Memphis. And I know it wasn't perfect, because you had media rights deals and travel and all those things. But, the idea of sharing a conference with San Diego State and sharing a conference with Gonzaga in basketball was just like, that was like a dream. But again, I'm an old school guy, Steve. These new generation kids, they all love football. They all want to do football. I'm a kid of the 90s when Memphis and Memphis State was running things in basketball. And maybe I'm holding on to that a little too long, but you'll have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands.
John Martin, 92.9 in Memphis. All right, last one. Let's circle back to football. Will anyone travel in the Tiger fan base out to Vegas?
Yeah, I think if I had to guess, you'll probably get, 1,500, 2,000. Oh. I think it'll be a pretty healthy conglomerate. Week 0, weekend trip to Vegas. Yeah, I would set the number at 1,488.5.
There you go. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Steve. Appreciate you, man.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, rolling on here on this Friday, Football Friday. Going to get into some gambling talk here in just a second with Sam Panayotovich out of Chicago, FoxSports.com, our gambling expert on Fridays. Was just checking out the Yankee game as well. 55-plus TVs here is Cam Schlittler. Never an easy name to say. Always got to be careful. FCC is listening. 2-0 in that one as the Yankees lead Toronto. I want to do a giveaway here. We were just talking about UNLV and Memphis. Big game coming up. Week 0, one of the bigger games around the country in Week 0 on Big Fox. You can also hear the game starting with coverage at 6 o'clock next Saturday right here on ESPN Las Vegas. 7 o'clock kick at the Owl. We got tickets. 364-1100. Caller 7 gets tickets to the UNLV opener. Caller 7 a pair of tickets to see UNLV and Memphis. UNLVtickets.com is where you can grab the tickets if you don't win these. We got Sam Panayotovich on the horn. Sam, I want you to react to what you saw with the Raiders last night, and one of my big worries still with the Raiders is that offensive line. How are you looking at Raiders' futures?
Which is so funny. Last year in the first round, they take a running back. This year with the first overall pick, you take a quarterback, which you understand, obviously. When you have a chance to go 1-1, you take a quarterback if a quarterback is there, and the quarterback checks a lot of your boxes. The problem is this happens all the time in the NFL. These franchises take quarterbacks and running backs and wide receivers, and the offensive line stinks. And I thought that was their biggest issue last year. You know, you go into a draft with no offensive line, one of the worst in the league, and you draft a running back. It's not his fault that he didn't have a big season, right? Because he didn't have any line play. So these championship caliber teams in the NFL, for the most part, are built from the inside out. You start in the trenches, you line up your dominoes, and then when you have the guys in the trenches, then you can add your skill position players. The Raiders are doing it backwards, which is very, very funny to me. And here's what will happen this season. The Raiders will be 2-6, 2-7. They're going to want to fire the coach or fire the GM, and then you're going to start that cycle again. The new GM is going to come in and have a new plan or whatever. It's fundamentally flawed, though, to try and build an offense without having an offensive line. Like, you're there, you got boots on the ground. How bad is the line?
It's not good. I mean, hell, my team is terrible, but I respect the Jets for at least trying to build it the right way with defensive and offensive linemen. Sam Peniotovich is with us. SP Shoot up on Twitter. Now on the Texans side, again, it's a preseason game, so let's not overreact. But they had a really good season a year ago. Stroud is the big X factor. Obviously, that's a big key. What are you doing? What are Sharps doing with the total, the win total at 9.5? I think the over is actually minus 130.
Yeah, this has been a very popular team, and it was, sharp stuff early on the Texans. I think the first number that we saw in the market was a 9, and it was a heavy 9. It was like over minus 150 or something like that. And there was somebody that came in and laid that. No qualms about it. So then when you started to see most books open up, they did post that 9.5 flat, minus 110. And even that has been bet. So you're going to see a sports book perspective where they would personally love the Texans to win 8 games because there's a ton of money on the over. It's a very popular, very trendy team. And when you look at the market on them to win the division, I mean, they're basically even money at this point. So there's a lot of respect, mostly for the defense, because defense does win divisions. I don't know the defense wins Super Bowls anymore. You need to have some semblance of high-level quarterback play. But that's a division that is very top-heavy. So, look, the Texans are the public team, but they were the sharp team early. So a combination of sharp money and then square money. But that's going to be one of those teams. The Texans come to mind. The Bears come to mind. The Patriots come to mind. A lot more tickets on the over the win total as opposed to people coming in and betting the under.
If you want to see Sam in the gambling environment, great podcast with Bear Bets podcast. And I watched the podcast this week, and you guys were discussing Heisman. I know you bet Arch Manning. They were talking about John Mateer. I think Mateer's a fascinating case. We saw him all muscled up with a big guy in the small coat, the Oklahoma quarterback. He's 22-1.
Look, usually I don't find myself at the top of the board. We've had these conversations for it feels like half a decade now about how to attack the Heisman market, and usually I look at 25 or higher. But for some reason, I'm just magnetically attracted to Arch this year, specifically because of the price. This time last summer, Arch was the consensus favorite, Steve, and he was 6-1 in Vegas. I think there was an offshore book that had plus 550, which had me just laughing that a guy who's never really taken a snap as a starter is one of the shortest Heisman favorites we've ever seen. So now, after he struggled early last year and sort of came onto his own, or into his own rather, late in the season, he's a better quarterback. He's got the SEC seasoning. The offensive line is better. The receivers are better. He's got 2 guys who will play in the NFL one day, maybe 3. The system is a year more cohesive, and I get a better price. So, as I just said, last year 6-1. Now I see 8-1, 8.25, 850. So I get a better Arch Manning at a better price. What am I missing?
Yeah, and on Mateer, I saw that Bear goes under his passing yards. So that's an interesting one. Let's talk Dante Moore in Oregon. Dante Moore's 4th choice on the Heisman board at 10-1. Where are you on Oregon first in the Big Ten?
I like them to win the Big Ten. We had that conversation on Bear Bets about, do teams even care about conference championships anymore? I think it's a valid one because at this point, if you're a 10-2 Big Ten team, you don't have to win that conference championship game. The expansion of the college football playoff has minimized the importance of these conference title games. And there have been some programs that have been sort of accused of not laying an egg, but not really showing you anything. If anything, it's more important to get to the conference title game than it is to win the conference title game, if that makes any sense. But I still think Dan Lanning is not going to lay down. And when you look at the price, when we see Indiana plus 175 and Oregon plus 275, I don't have them $1 apart. I just don't. So from a rating standpoint, like Indiana, Oregon, to me on a neutral are, almost identical. So why is Indiana plus 175? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't. Yeah. And even with Ohio State, like, depending on the book, like, I don't have that big of a gap. I don't think Oregon should be anywhere near 3-1. So, Ohio State's great. Indiana's great. Oregon's great. I think they're all, like, I could pick one of them out of the hat and be satisfied. Like, if you, me, and Willie Ramirez all had, one pick out of a hat, I'd be satisfied with any of those teams. But because of the core of the coach and the quarterback, Dante Moore, who could have gone, honestly, second overall in the draft, but he came back to college on a mission. I like that price, compared to the other teams at the top of the Big Ten. I love that plus 270, plus 275 look on the Ducks.
And Oregon's plus 750 to win the national title, fourth on the board. In the Big Ten, we talked about Minnesota and that you're high on Minnesota for a lot of reasons. The total there on the wins is only 6.5. I saw your conversation about Michigan State, and I listened to Pat Fitzgerald, and he sounded like a renewed dude. He's that was on Sirius XM. He was all fired up, but there's a reality here. He's building it a little bit differently. Their win total's only 3.5 with the over minus 180.
Yeah, well, they want you to come in and go over that low number. That's what we call trying to lay the cheese out for the mouse. You see that low number, you're like, oh, well, they'll win at least 4. But then you got to lay the $1.80, to your point. I can tell you that the first number we did see on Michigan State was about 4.5. So take from that what you will. 4.5 on the open, now 3.5. So they've been hit definitely under. And you got to go back. Look, the last 2 years in Northwestern, Fitz was horrible. Now, is it all on the coach? In college, I would argue it is more than any other sport. But they went 4-20 his last 2 years in Evanston. That's not going to cut it, Steve. It's just not. And the problem is there's not a culture there. Michigan State was bad last year. And now he comes in and they have like 4 returning starters and he has no tentacles in the program. So to expect Michigan State to come in and hang with the big boys, you look at their schedule from a point spread standpoint. I've got them favored in the first 2 games, and then I've got them dogs in the final 10. So even at 3.5, I'm not going to bite that cheese over.
Sam Panayotovich, we have him on because he's really good. He's very well researched. You can find him at SP Shoot up on Twitter. And I referenced that being well researched. I feel like college football comes as a rush to a lot of people. And I hate freaking blanket statements like, oh, the ACC stinks, Miami's going to roll. No, the ACC actually has a lot of good football programs. It actually has a lot of balance, and it's got a lot of intriguing stories this year. So after Miami, who are you looking at in the ACC with a possibility of making the CFP, but more importantly, maybe pulling the upset? I've got teams like SMU, Louisville, Clemson, Pitt, Virginia, not North Carolina, NC State, VTech. I mean, there's a list of schools there that have a pretty wide variance.
Yeah, I mean, it's Miami at the top, no doubt. You already alluded to that. I mean, I have them as like a top 10 team right now. I think I actually have them 7th in the country to a man. So after that, power rating wise, it's SMU, Clemson, Louisville, Florida State, and I could honestly probably interchange those final 3. Like, it's clear to me Miami's 1, SMU is 2, and the odds board will tell you that. But look, man, I'm not betting Clemson. I'm not betting Louisville. I'm not betting Florida State. Like, there's a big gap. There really, from a talent standpoint, there's a big gap between Miami, SMU, and everybody else. And honestly, you could say there's a gap between Miami and the field. So this is not a conference that I'm looking to deep dive on. What you can do, though, obviously Miami's minus money to win. Like, they're as high as minus 140, minus 150 to win the conference, which I don't really want to bet myself. But some of these books, and I know a lot of the Vegas books do this too, you can bet a team to make the conference championship game. Not win it, make it. So take a team like Pittsburgh at 18-1 to win it. I'm not really interested in that, but how about 9-1 to make it? You mentioned Louisville. Now that's going to be a lot smaller of a pay because they're about 8-9 to 1. So you're going to get $450 to make the championship game. I don't think, hot take, I don't think Miami is losing this conference. So I think they're going to go 11-1, win the ACC. But there are some teams, whether you like Pittsburgh, Virginia is a very trendy team in the wise guy circles. They're like 10-1 to make the ACC championship game. And then look, Cal's got a quarterback, man. I don't know how many of you have seen this JKS kid play. Baby Tua is what they were calling him last year, the kid from Hawaii. He's special. Now, they're 40-1 to win the conference. You cut it in half, they're 20-1 to make the championship game. So you can get rewarded if you go down the board, but I wouldn't get crazy and play a team to win it. I would play them to make it.
Better win total over North Carolina or Florida State? North Carolina is only 4.5. Florida State 6.5.
God,
I took North Carolina under against JV2. Took North Carolina over. He thinks Belichick will have a nice bounce back year. Respects his abilities as a DC. By the way, his son right now, as we're doing this conversation, I don't think his son is back, so he is going to be the DC. So I mean, obviously we know about Lombo. It's a mess there.
They play 11 power opponents too. And last year was a train wreck, man. They may have gotten better because some of those guys will have developed. That's the one thing Bill has always done pretty well. He's developed players. But they bring back 6 starters. They got a new quarterback. You look at the schedule, though, man. It's not that I want to rattle off the entire schedule. They play East Tennessee State, and then every other team has a pulse. Every other team. So I lean under. I don't really love it. I'm a little bit higher on Florida State. I know the Vultures are sort of circling Mike Norvell down there in Tallahassee, but I bet them week 1, or sorry, no, that is week 1, because week 0 is New Mexico State. Week 1, make that make sense. Their second game is in week 1. We took 3 against SMU. They're at home in that game, and I really like that they get the tune-up. They play that first game where SMU's first game will be Florida State. So I tend to like that angle, and you're giving me 3 points with a team I think should be a pick'em in this game. So I would probably go over on Florida State, sort of buy the dip, but I definitely bet them in week number 1. That's a Sunday night game on September 7th. Took the 3 against SMU.
Sam Panayotovich up on ESPN Las Vegas, Cofield and company. On to the NFL. On Bear Bets podcast, he was talking about Jaden Daniels and under his passing number, which is around 3,250. Are we prisoners of the moment right now because of the Jaden Daniels LSU thing? Because I think there's other reasons to be worried about Jaden. Obviously, health from last year is a concern. They've already got issues on the line with a tackle injury with Tunsil out. Absolutely.
And I think, Bear made the point, and I think he was being – I don't know if he was being facetious, but he was like, isn't this sort of a karma play? And I don't tend to do karma bets all the time. He only played 7 games last year. That's sort of where I want to start. And I think the issue with Jaden Daniels is durability. Can he stay on the field? Because from the bottom down, that's not a big guy, Steve. He's just not. Yeah. He's a very string bean type quarterback, and they list him at 210 pounds. I would bet the under 210. I think he's like 195. He's just not big legs, not big thighs. He's just not a very, strong quarterback below the waist. And, he wasn't great last year, man. I mean, he had 8 touchdown passes in 7 games. So I will say from a price standpoint, generally I'm looking to bet guys or teams that didn't perform last year. But if you go back to last summer, Jaden Daniels was the 5th quarterback on the board to win the MVP. He was. It was the big 4, Lamar, Burrow, Allen, and Mahomes, and then Jaden Daniels. And now he's like the 12th quarterback on the board. So every bone in my body wants to be like, okay, maybe not MVP, but let's shoot this over the top. Let's go over on yards. Let's go over on touchdowns because the perception is low. He obviously didn't perform last year. And now you got this weird story where he wants his number retired and he doesn't want this guy to wear number 5. I think that actually sort of creates value on some of his long season stuff, right? Over the yardage, over the touchdowns. I'm not going to bet him to win the MVP, and I'm not going to bet the Commanders win the division. But usually when everybody's off a guy, I like to be on, if that makes any sense. But I don't really feel any type of way about Jaden Daniels. It's a weird story, by the way, with the LSU thing.
I feel like it's more his mom than him. FoxSports.com headline, 3 future wagers to make today. We talked about Joe Burrow on this show for MVP. Your defensive rookie of the year choice is pretty interesting.
Yeah, Arvell Reese is a machine, and I keep hearing great things out of New Jersey, not New York, which is where the Giants play, ironically enough. But this is a guy that'll play basically whatever you need with the Giants. And I do love John Harbaugh being able to kind of queen this guy around. Like he's a queen on the chessboard. He can do basically anything. And they're going to use him in a variety of ways. He's not just going to get to the quarterback, which he will do, by the way, but he can drop into coverage. He can stop the run because he's an animal. He can get to the quarterback on third down. On 3rd and 6, they're going to have him on the edge. He's 6'4", 245 pounds with literally unmatched size and speed, and he's going to be a nightmare. I saw his first preseason game. Pro Football Focus graded him as an 88.2, which is like one of the highest preseason rankings for a rookie defensive player ever. Granted, it's one preseason game, and it's a very small sample size. But if you look, like, go to Twitter when you get a second and just type in Arvell Reese, Arvellreese, and look at some of the plays, how he blows up the offensive lineman, how he blows up the pocket, how he just shoves offensive linemen into the backfield. This is a weapon for them. And, you know, there are some guys that are higher than him on the board, but he's probably, in my opinion, the best defensive all-around player in the league coming out of college right now. So at plus 800, I'm invested.
And like you said, New York market certainly does not hurt. If he's a big story, he's going to get hyped real big time. So, again, 8-1 for Defensive Rookie of the Year. On the podcast you guys were talking about, we're talking to Sammy P here on ESPN Las Vegas. You guys were talking about high or low on the Colts, that there's a big variance. So which way are you going?
I'm right in the middle, man. I made the joke, you know, Bears, like, they could win 12 or they could win 4. And I was like, well, maybe you should bet them most wins and fewest wins. And, you know, that's a perfect way to middle yourself. That's the Polish middle, Steve, when you bet most wins and fewest wins and they go 9-8. So you win neither of them. I don't know what to do with a Daniel Jones team. I don't. I like Steichen. I always have. In that division, not to, you know, pivot off of your question, I am much more interested in Jacksonville and seeing what they do in the second year of Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence, because last year they were just gangbusters and they won all these close games. But they have a very, very talented roster. I was looking at Todd Furman's list of teams because he put out like an example of his power ratings, and he's got Houston 12th in the NFL. He's got Jacksonville 17th and Indianapolis 22nd. So that's a guy who makes numbers and used to book bets in Las Vegas. He used to work at Caesars for a long, long time. When I see Todd Furman, a guy that I respect a ton, have the Colts on line 22, that doesn't really get me excited to bet them. And I do feel like Daniel Jones is going to turn into a pumpkin, you know, like the clock is nearing midnight. So I don't have any bets on Indy over or under. I didn't bet them to win the division. I like Jacksonville of all those teams. But I understand what Bear's saying. They are a very, very, like, hot and cold team. I can't quite figure them out.
Sammy P is with us at SP Shoot. All right. One of the reasons I'm freaking fired up that you are now a reporter with Fox 32 is because we always talk food on the show. And food is going to be part of your sports reports. And I got to reference a sports report that you did recently. You were at a tailgate and you had a planned shot, but someone didn't communicate and they kind of blew up the shot. But your ability to react on the fly was awesome. Where was the brat on the little mini grill? The whole setup is there. Come on, guys.
I'll give you the backstory. So this year when we do Bears home games, I will be in the pregame show, which we'll do for an hour before the national pregame. I will be at the tailgates with the fans. So this was the first preseason game, my first ever, you know, live day with, you know, Bears pregame. And they sent us out. And I did my first hit. And the host, Cassie Carlson's like, make sure you get us some food and bring it back to the studio. So I found a tailgate that had a bunch of brats. And I asked the woman who was on the grill, I was like, can you save me 2 brats and I will show them on the air? She said, yeah, of course. So she laid the brats on the grill. We go live. And I go to the little grill and I'm like, and Cassie, we have brat. And I lift the lid and there's no brats. So somebody had packaged the brats not knowing that we were going to do this on live TV. So I'm trying to like react and I'm like, the brats were there. Now they're not. And I'm walking back to the camera and some girl walks up with a beer bong. And I was like, what is this? And she goes, you got to do this. And I think you heard the clip. I say out loud, can I do this? And then just torque it. I mean, just straight down. and it went semi-viral. People loved it. My bosses liked it, but they said no more.
No more drinking. I love the way you closed. I love the way you sent it back to studio. You were just like,
"Yep."
You didn't say anything. You're just like, "I got beer in my mouth."
How do you prepare for that moment? You don't, and like that's not scripted. That's just live television.
Well,
but I think it was a really well executed live hit, given the fact that we pivoted to that. But I was told if this was a regular season game, the Bears would not be happy with me drinking on television because it's a family show, Steve. That's what we've been told.
I get it. But being able to do stuff on the fly is important. I remember a classic shot, and I think it was before you got to Boston, of Heidi Watney, a reporter for the Red Sox, was at one of the concession stands, and they're like, hey, they're just introducing chicken and waffles. And she took a bite of the chicken and waffle, and like she looked like she was going to hurl live on, like she couldn't stomach it. I was like, wow, this turned into a friggin' disaster. Let me tell you, the other thing that's happening is the fact that you're back in Chicago. It's one of the great food cities in this country. And someone sent you a picture of, I think it's like Wrigleyville dogs. And just to look at the meal with a drink, the crinkle cut fries, and the perfect snappy hot dog, Chicago dog.
Yeah, it's so good. There's going to be a lot going on, and I have a couple buddies that throw tailgates around Soldier Field. They've got 6 grills burning. They've got a full bar, which, again, don't go to the bar. Don't go to the bar. Focus. But the food options will be plentiful, and I guess the only question I have for you is when are you going to make it to a tailgate so we can get you on live TV, we can plug the show, and then you can enjoy some of these snappy hot dogs that you crave.
I know we need UNLV to make the CFP somewhere near your beat, or I will tell you, my significant other is like dying to go to Chicago, so we have to make a trip to Chicago. It used to be a regular. Hey, oh, that would be a good
Patriots
one.
Bears on a Thursday night in Chicago. You can make that happen.
I can wear my Patriots 18-1 shirt, which almost got me punched in the face. Patriots fans are so delicate. Well, the little flowers. Sammy, great spot, man. Appreciate it here on a Friday. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Steve.
Cofield and Company presents Grab Bag on ESPN Las Vegas.
Stick your hand in there, dude.
I am ready right now for UNLV in Memphis. Just about. But in terms of hype, we just got done talking to Sam Panayotovich, who, of course, had a lot of good leans and likes on national level college football, which I'll run by Alex here in a second. Alex White is here. It's Cofield, Mateo, and James is back in the Finley Toyota Studios. Last couple of minutes live at TI Vegas. We're watching the Steelers and the Jets go at it. Third quarter, 8 minutes left. 7-0. The barn burner. I think we went over this already. You're not a big preseason bettor, even though Drew Aller's playing.
I am not.
You don't get fired up for Drew Aller?
No, there's just so many unknowns. I mean, what are you going to do? You have a whole different rating for the second string for the first half and the third string for the second half. So, makes it very tough.
How about last week? Steam.
Yeah.
0-9.
Not good. Good for the books, bad for the bettors. Definitely.
Which so crushes every time I talk to a casual, especially media people, and they're like, you guys are just absolute degenerates betting preseason football. And I'm like, no, there's advantages. You can win.
Yeah.
0-9. Small sample, 1 week.
True. There are advantages. You are right.
What's the number one lesson? Week 1 and 2 in the NFL and college football. Take a deep breath. Nothing you see is set in stone.
Correct. And your unit size. Make sure that you are comfortable with what you are betting.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Oh.
Right. Be careful. Yes. Be consistent. Right? Be consistent.
Yes.
And within a day, week 1, don't start chasing late in the day.
That's right.
Please. Okay. Real football's here next week. And like I said, I'm ready. That conversation with John Martin, and we're going to have a lot more on Memphis. Our vast social media crew will chop up a lot of what John was talking about so you get a better preview of Memphis. In getting ready for that discussion, I found a really good chart of Memphis roster and their experience. So I am freaking ready to go. Now, that said, I don't know what the hell is going to happen next week. I can take a guess at it. What do you do for week 0? We've discussed this. Now with college football in flux more than ever, do you actually reduce units?
Yeah.
Watch your unit size, as you just said a minute ago. Right,
Yeah.
but do you reduce it because it's just crazy now?
Yeah, I will go smaller the first couple weeks to really try and get a feel for the teams, because I feel I'm the best after I have 4 weeks of adjusting myself after seeing the results going through the box score. So, but I will say I definitely lean towards stability when it comes to the craziness. So the fact that Memphis is coming in with a lot of new players and a new head coach, that already kind of offsets it. And it's a big step from the Sun Belt for him.
No. Oh, Sunbelt is the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, Huff. Okay. I'm not that worried about him. And as we talked to John Martin about, he brought 4 coaches over with him from Southern Miss. He also brought over 17 players from Southern Miss. He also brought in coaches from Old Dominion, who that guy brought players with him. So I think that helps. Does UNLV have a coaching advantage? They should, because of the continuity.
Right.
But here's what week 0, any of these games that have steamed a little bit, like UNLV's gone from 3.5 to 6. That's one that I would look at, and I won't bet it. I'm a professional. I'm not going to bet on a team I cover. The one that really intrigues me is NC State and Memphis. That's 5.5. Let me get it right. NC State and Virginia. That is 5.5.
Where did it open? Do you remember?
I got to look it up.
Okay.
That seems to me like a big spread for 2 ACC teams that are basically, they're both in the 18 to 23 to 1 range to win the title, which they're long shots, but they're like teams say 7 and 8.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be laying 5.5. Keep in mind, Virginia also 2 new quarterbacks. Holstein in from Alabama and Pittsburgh. Boy, if I can remember every transfer in the country and all 7 schools they've been at.
You do start to do that as the season goes on. It starts to.
I'm okay with UNLV. I try. Bo Pribula is actually the starter after being at Penn State and Mizzou, and we're not just handicapping on quarterbacks. But C.J. Bailey's an experienced guy and a pro prospect at NC State.
Yeah. And
I like the program that Doran runs there. So we'll see about that one. See, I'm getting excited.
Could be a good
big
one.
Unit size. Reduce the unit. As Alex said, shrink the unit. Don't play as aggressively as you normally would. And with all these transfers and the portal movement, things are crazy.
So going back to, you asked me the question about if these players do play, and it's kind of late notice. That is what our system is kind of all about, is each player having a power rating and then what they're worth, with the next guy up kind of mentality. So I don't think those positions are necessarily going to move the line too much.
I don't think they will at all.
Yeah.
I also think what we were talking about was the 5 and 5, where there's maybe dozens of super seniors coming back to play college football. They're not going to play a lot of reps for like a month. You don't just even if you're a part of the squad, there's conditioning, there's altered systems, there's the fact that everyone else has been getting reps and you haven't. So you're not just going to go, hey, you were the starter at cornerback saying you were going to get 42 snaps a game, and now senior came back, so a year and a half, he's playing. It's not going to happen. So I don't think the impact will be massive. Believe it or not, there might actually be some quarterbacks who may pop up in different places, which is, hey, if he wants to sue, I think for a 9th year, imagine if Diego Pavia popped up somewhere. All right, well, thanks to everyone here at TI Vegas for hosting the show. Thank you, James. Good week of work. Mateo, appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Check out our socials. We've got a bunch of stuff up there with recap videos of the show. Alex, have a great weekend. Thank you.